All right. Cheers to episode 143.
Forgot to grab a beverage.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Orange tea.
Orange tea.
Blood orange tea from Trader
Why?
Joe's. You know, it's no, I'm just trying to prevent sickness. A lot of airport travel
You
this
get
weekend.
sick a lot.
We'll get to.
Because you have a weak immune system.
I
You
don't.
literally get sick at least twice, 2 to 3 times a year.
I barely ever get
That's
sick.
pretty average, Alex. 2 to 3
No.
times a year.
Not for people like me and you, Evan, with great immune systems.
Alex, you get
But for
sick all the
Grant,
time.
That's not even remotely true.
You first want to get COVID of our group, fact or fiction?
Of our group,
Fact or fiction?
I never had it.
by 4 hours, maybe.
That's because I lived with you. I was fine until you.
Just because I got COVID doesn't mean I have a bad immune system.
I think it would definitely take points off of your immune system since you got it.
Well, you got it twice, and then every time you got sick, you thought you had COVID because you're a weak-minded loser.
I only officially got it once.
I'm saying. And I only had to take a test because you made me, because you thought that I was contagious. Because you're a sick weirdo kid.
I had to make sure, and you were saying that was just right after you had stormed the Capitol with the Trumpies saying that COVID wasn't real.
No, actually, I was at Michigan State, Oakland, in Little Caesars Arena and gave thousands of people COVID.
Wow. Rocket Watts. Evan, what did you say you were drinking?
I am drinking Sparty Party.
Oh my God.
You bought it from the store.
Wow. Where'd you get that?
Sorry.
I bought it at Bush's.
In Tecumseh?
This was supposed to be a Thanksgiving beer, and I did not drink any of them during Thanksgiving.
They sell Sparty Party in Tecumseh, Michigan.
They have a bunch of craft beer selection.
They sell Sparty Party in Houston.
Shout out to Mrs. McCown. They do not sell it in Texas or in
You
Houston.
don't know that. You don't live here. How would you know?
You don't know what Truth Barbecue tastes like.
I don't need to.
Aw.
Alex, you got nothing this week?
Yeah, I haven't had anything for multiple weeks. I just keep
All right.
forgetting. And
Listeners
I
are
could
getting
get
worried
up,
about you.
but it's just a lot of work.
Tonight is Monday, November 27th, 2023. The time is 7:54 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:54 Central Time. Welcome into the number one all-around sports podcast in the state of Michigan. And what a feast week it was. An all-timer, really. Just
For you, yes.
for I think everyone. It was a great week to be a sports fan.
No. That's the complete opposite of a Michigan State. Evan and I had probably the worst sports week of all time. So please speak for yourself.
You got a brand new football coach that's exciting to talk about.
We lost in basketball. The Lions lost on Thanksgiving. Michigan State lost on Thanksgiving. Michigan State lost on Friday after Thanksgiving. Michigan won on Saturday.
The Friday after Thanksgiving? What was that?
Michigan State lost to Penn State by a billion points.
Oh.
And then Michigan won on Saturday. So as fans, for Evan and I, it was a very bad week. And Peyton Thorne couldn't get the job done. Even worse, to add on to the misery.
Well, that would have been good for you. You don't like him.
Well, I was rooting for him because I was rooting for you.
Thank you. You guys got a new coach. I think that in itself ends Feast Week on a positive note.
I just want you to speak for yourself and not for us.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's very
Fine.
short-sighted.
What a feast week it was, not positive or negative.
It was something, sure.
Thursday, I was pretty down bad. Down pretty bad after Thursday. No
You were
doubt.
horny.
Down bad in a sports sense, not horny. Butler lost to FAU by like 5. It would have been a great top 25 win.
I
But they
checked out
bounced
Ken
back.
Pop today, Grant. Guess what?
We're top 40.
No. But top 50. I think you're 50.
5-2.
You're ahead of Michigan.
That feels right. I think that'd be a pretty good matchup.
They're
if they
52.
play.
You're 50. So I was just curious. Start the show. Neutral site. Who you got?
Look at you, November Ken Pom. That's gritty.
Yeah.
Preview the show, weekly recaps, how our Thanksgivings were. Then we'll get into NFL and college football. As always, it'll be a heavy show. I would say mainly more for our teams that we root for, not the national perspective, because there's some big things that happen, between Michigan's game, the Lions game, and MSU hiring a new coach. That's going to dominate most of the talk. We'll get into some national storylines a little bit. Any other sports besides that, probably not the episode for you. I can't imagine we have time for Pistons, Red Wings, or Tigers signed Kenta Maeda, so there's your reaction to that. I guess
Patrick Kane will be a Red Wing in a week.
I am kind of excited about that, even though he's got to be 45 years old.
No, Red Wings are a wagon.
That's not totally
3-game win streak.
We just won in Boston on Friday
They're
afternoon.
better.
We beat them twice this year already, right? We own Boston.
Correct. Their only 2 regulation losses are to the Detroit Red Wings.
They're rebuilding.
The Pistons are in the toilet bowl tonight.
We're not
There's your
talking
Pistons
about
talk. 2-14 versus 2-14.
Oh, who else is 2-14 in the NBA?
The Wizards.
The Wizards.
Oh,
Jordan
Even
Poole
Barstool
versus
tweeted
Cade
about
Cunningham.
us.
The toilet bowl.
Yeah,
All right.
There was a meme. Pistons Wizards. It was like, I don't know what the picture was, but
Before we dive into the topics, if you're listening, please stop what you're doing right now. Please go somewhere, either YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen. Subscribe to it if you're not already. Give it a like, give it a review. And if you have already done it on the platform you're listening to, I challenge you to go to a different platform that you don't normally listen on and give a review. Subscribe there. You can subscribe on YouTube and just turn off your notifications for us. And you don't even, it's basically you're not subscribed, but you're subscribed to us. It does it for the algorithm. That's all you got to do. We don't actually need you to get the notification when a new episode drops, but it just helps to click the button. That's the least you could do, because this is going to be a great show. I feel it in my bones. And to set the bar high, Alex, as we start always repping the Dave Clawson Wake Forest Demon Deacons, your week, your Thanksgiving week.
5:30 a.m. flight on Thanksgiving morning.
5:30 Eastern or 5:30 local?
Central.
Okay.
So it was a 2:30 local time wake up. About a 30-minute ride.
Uber or did you drive?
Uber. I scheduled it the night before.
You scheduled one? That makes me nervous. I've never done that.
Makes you nervous? That's easy. It's better.
Like it's going to
more
get messed up in their
security.
system and they're not going to show up. And I'm going to be screwed.
No, I think finding an Uber at 3:15 is a much scarier proposition.
Touche. That does sound sweaty as well.
Anyways, it's also Houston. There's thousands of people here, so there was no issue. So we got to the airport, traveled, got home, Tecumseh, 9-ish a.m. local time. It's Eastern time. And then it's Thanksgiving with my family. Was good, I guess. Sports kind of hindered it,
How's the turkey?
Food. Turkey was pretty good. Air fried.
Says, let's get right to it.
Infrared. I don't know.
I'm intrigued because I heard how you guys were cooking the turkey, so I just want to know, how was the turkey?
Infrared.
Yeah, like an infrared cooker thing.
Turkey fryer?
No, didn't ask. It was not a fryer.
It was basically an air fryer.
It's like an air fryer, yes.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's called the Big Easy Oilless Turkey Fryer.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's already on it.
I saw Grant's father. Shout out Larry.
Great.
Wearing a great hat.
Little did he know.
Thinking back,
bad day
he
for
said he
Lions
was
football.
hoping that the game would be a lot more stress-free than the Chicago game. Turns out it wasn't.
It was actually worse.
It's worse. What else? Yeah, just good to see family, catch up. Haven't seen people in a while. And then Friday, Detroit, Rock City
Detroit.
with Evan,
Rock
Cody.
City.
Cody's fiance, Drew's not fiance, girlfriend. And, some other youngsters were there. Evan's parents. Went to Tin Roof. It's a good time. Consumed a lot of bush lattes on draft.
Was there a special going?
Don't know. I don't know what I spent. They closed my tab out without telling me. So then when I went up to get more, they're like, "Oh, your tab's closed. You're gonna have to open another one." I was like,
What the hell?
"That cannot be a good sign." So not really sure how much I spent. It's probably a decent amount. Probably a lot. These were tall beers.
Any shots?
I did not buy any.
Oh my gosh.
Do shots. Oh, I actually did buy shots, didn't I? Someone did. The very end, someone bought shots. I think it was me.
I did not take those very end shots.
Yes, we did. Tequila.
What'd you get? Oh my god, I forgot we took a tequila shot.
I did too until we started talking about this.
Holy cow, that was the memory I did not until just now.
Was I the one who bought those?
Little brown out.
I tell you, somebody handed me it in my face. I said, I'm not taking this. And then everybody looked at me.
I can
was
like
"Fine, I'll
see
take it."
this.
I know exactly where I was
Pretty
standing.
blurry. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't know.
But I totally forgot that happened.
I was pretty blitzed at that point, I'll be honest.
Yeah, but
I also bought 2 chocolate bars when we walked out.
Oh, I had one of those, so that was fantastic.
Yeah,
I bought chocolate this weekend
almond
too.
Hershey chocolate bar. Delicious.
Oh, so good. So good.
2 for 6, maybe? I had cash. So yeah, Detroit, fun time. Game, not so fun. Car ride on the way back was all time.
Legendary.
It's not suitable for the podcast, but it was all time. Just funny. It was just nonstop laughter for we were like pretty like down in the dumps at first on the way home.
The car ride was like an hour 15, hour 30. That car ride felt like it was 20 minutes.
Yeah. What song was that came on?
Oh, it was Tim McGraw, Live Like You're Dying.
That's so we were kind of quiet before that song comes on, and then all 4 of us just start bursting, like singing it out loud. No idea why. the vibes completely changed, and then after that, I just feel like I laughed the entire time. So it was a good car ride. Made it go quick. Got home, and my dad was like, "You must have had fun. You're singing your words." So
Classic back at the parents' house.
yeah, he was watching Oregon State, Oregon, and he's like, "Yep, this coach sucks." So
Not now, Dad.
I was like, oh, "Okay, Dad." So that was Friday. Saturday, went to Mr. McCrate's, Cody with a K's house, for the game. Walked in, saw all my furniture. It's interesting. Everyone, it was a very weird variety of snacks. Very weird. Like,
Yeah, because he said he
chips and dip,
yeah.
sushi, donuts.
What?
And the weirdest part, I think, is that it was 11 a.m. ish when I walked in, 11:30 maybe, and Cody was drinking a glass of red wine. Just 11:30
He didn't do
a.m.
mimosas.
I was just like, that is a weird choice. Like, I just don't see people drink wine.
He told me off the record he had something. He had coffee, spiked coffee this morning, basically. He had like Irish cream or Bailey's in it of his coffee. And then he had no beer in the house, so he just went to red wine. And he's like, well, if I run out of my red wine, then I'm just going to start drinking bourbon.
So it's like, I didn't ask. I was just like, it's a strange drink. But yeah, watch the game. Good time. Besides the results, got to see some people I didn't see Friday. And then I had dinner with my mom and father because I feel like I probably should hang out with them at some point during the weekend.
Smart.
So did that. And then Sunday was welcomed with some snow on my way out.
Yeah.
And so I got in last night. We sat on the tarmac for like 35 minutes while they put the de-icing liquid on the plane. Pilot was so lame. He's like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before, but in our little 30-minute delay here, if you look out the window, you can see a plane getting de-iced. It's pretty cool if you've never seen it. It was literally like just like a car wash. It's like sitting through a car wash. He's like, yep, and I bet you didn't know the guy driving those little trucks, he sprays them too. It's just one guy. Pretty cool. Give me the mayor.
I appreciate the effort, though.
Yeah. Yep. And I had to sit middle seat on the way back, and let me tell you, not good. My knees hurt a lot.
Did you alpha the elbow rest or did you get alpha'd?
Oh, forgot. The kid on my left, probably our age. I don't know. He had a tattoo. He was watching. I was watching Bills Eagles. He saw that I was watching. I don't think this kid's been on a plane before. Not his fault. Whatever. I was watching Bills Eagles. He's like, "Oh my god, sir, how'd you do that?" First of all, he called me sir. And I'm like, that's weird, but whatever. So I show him. He puts it on, and the whole time he's like, "Oh, come on, Jalen. Oh, Josh, come on, Josh. Good catch, Stephon." He's just like saying their names and doing this out loud. He's like, "Oh, that was a fumble, wasn't it?" And it's like, I was just like put in my headphones, and he's just like trying to talk to me this whole time. Just like talking out loud. When we're about to take off, he puts his tray table down and just lays on it. You're supposed to have all your stuff up when you're taking off. And the flight attendant came by and she's like, "Sir, can you put your thing up?" He's like, "Why?" "Sir, can you just put it up when we take off and then you can put it back down later?" He's like, "All right." Puts it up. She walks away, fucking drops it right back down and lays on it.
Nice.
Like, gets up to go to the bathroom. Like, wait, like we just get into the air. He's immediately up walking to the bathroom. Seatbelt sign's still on. Doesn't care. So that guy was to my left. It was wonderful. We got to my right, ate a juicy Big Mac.
Oh, he brought a Big Mac onto the plane?
Big Mac, large Coke, and fries.
That is an aggressive meal to eat on a plane.
Yep. So I was just sandwiched between the two of that the whole ride. It's not
Wow.
enjoyable. And here we are. 12 hours later.
Evan?
24 hours later.
Let's see. Tuesday. So Wednesday, went to the local watering hole for the typical pregame Thanksgiving night out. Good time. Everybody in our friend group is slowly vanishing, so we don't have as much of us there anymore. And then, of course, there's people in our group bitching about everybody that's in there. It's like, well, we were once 21 and 22. We did the same thing, and everybody bitched about us. It's a cycle.
Well, Evan, the question I think more so at hand was, are you too old to be, or like, are you going to go next year?
Yeah.
But you said it's a cycle. The people that were our age.
There were people older than me still in there.
All right, that was going to be my question. How many older people than you are there at this point? Because if you're the oldest ones in there now, that means
I was not the oldest one in there. Was not the oldest one in there.
But would you say you guys were the majority of old people?
No.
Who was it? Who were the oldest? Like, how many older people were in there?
There's actually the biggest table, the big table that sits right next to the pool table.
Yeah.
That was taken up by like the same group of like adults the entire night.
So you're saying because of that, you will be in there until you're 45 years old?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying a couple more years won't hurt.
So Evan, back on the record, you're still dialed in Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. You will see Evan Cadmus at Mox.
Send the invites out. I'll be there.
Noted.
It was a good time. Thursday was way more hungover than I thought I was going to be. A little bit of a rough morning getting up and getting after it Thursday. Had this whole plan of like making myself breakfast Thursday, Thanksgiving morning. Didn't happen. Had a bagel. That was about it. But Thursday, Thanksgiving was actually fantastic. Great food. Good time hanging out with the family. Sporting events, not so great. And then Friday, went to Detroit Rock City with Alex and Cody and Paige and friends. So that was fantastic. Had basically probably the same exact experience as Alex in Detroit. And then Saturday was also with Alex and everybody else at Cody with a K's house. Not a good time just watching football. I stayed a lot later. I didn't have any afternoon plans. Did that Saturday. And then Sunday, I reffed basketball all day. My legs and ankles and calves hurt today. They're just sore. They're tired.
Shoes.
They're barking. Those new shoes are now old shoes, and they don't have any support anymore.
Time for new shoes, Evan.
I know.
New shoes. You should do Crocs.
I think nobody would care.
I might get a pair of Crocs.
Can't run in Crocs.
I have a pair of Crocs.
I said that this weekend. I said I might want Crocs for Christmas. I did say that out loud.
Crocs are so good. Hey dudes are just as good.
Hey dudes are big. You do see them a lot.
So I got with them at work.
And that was Sunday.
The Ford Field crowd looked packed.
It was sold out.
Wow.
We're talking about the Michigan State game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
It was sold
I saw a
out.
picture. It was like packed in there.
There was actually a lot of Penn State fans.
I read that it was like 80-20 Spartans to Penn State. So it didn't feel like I didn't really feel like there was that many Penn State fans either. But
I thought there was actually more Penn State fans
Was
than
there a
people
lot of
thought.
tin
I was
before the
drunk.
game
so
that you were chopping it up with?
there were Penn State fans at Tin Roof.
There were Penn State fans. There was a good amount in this one bar that we had.
Were you guys tin roof like the whole time, or did you go to any other ones?
We were there the whole time.
We were
You just
10
put
roof
in a
entire time.
shift.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I
Put
mean,
in
we
a
wouldn't have
shift.
been able to get into Tin Roof later because the line was absurd.
Wow.
Well, Alex, that was
When we came
after
out
the
of
game.
No, when we left, Evan, the line was ginormous.
I did not see the line when we left. I instantly got out and I heard people screaming at me, and you threw a candy bar at me, so I was happy.
Yeah, there was a lot of people.
Did you guys go to the bar after the game before driving home, or straight car then home?
Straight car, screaming profanity in the street,
No, I was
I
not.
saw-
visibly,
a lot of them.
verbally upset.
Two
And
of the people in
so,
our
You
group
guys stay
were
the whole
saying
game?
things that were not. No,
no, we left
I
with
was
like 6 minutes left in
actually
the third
going
quarter.
pee. I'm coming. I was about to walk down the aisle, and Evan comes up and he's like, "We're leaving." I'm like, "Are you?" "Yes, sir." So no, we did not stay.
There was TVs near your guys' seats.
That says pink.
Those were Cody St. Page's seat.
Okay, that I didn't get this like.
They were
this Snapchat.
literally
I saw
one
that
seat
down
away from like the VIP, like
What do you guys?
lounge seats and everything.
there. I see.
I get
Cody
it.
and Page's section, yeah, there's like a like handicap / like VIP area and like lounge chairs, and like on like the wall there's like TVs, and they were literally right next to that.
I think the tequila shots on the way in hindered my memory.
Sounds like it. But you
I
didn't
was
remember until now.
drunk during the game. I was.
I think we had beers
With the
inside.
bright lights.
did.
of the
Bought a
full
bunch of
field
people
shining
beers.
down on you.
That just-
Yes, you did.
Just felt like a good citizen.
You
Like
bought
random
4
people?
beers, and the guy just tipped them. That was it. That was the trade off.
Yeah,
Mm.
I was like, I'll get them for you, but you guys can tip. And then he tipped like $20. So it was probably almost the same.
Wow,
Anyways,
that's pretty electric.
Grant, how was your adventure down south?
I was kind of similar to Alex's with the early morning Thursday flight. Left Detroit. I don't know what time exactly.
Flight?
Evan,
It was early.
Grant and
Flight.
Marissa got to left for the airport like 4 hours before their flight even took off. Like they're those people.
We got there too early. There's no doubt.
Like they FaceTimed me
Marissa
while
can't
I was
be-
sitting at the airport with an hour left before I had to get on. And they were already at the airport and they had like 2 hours plus.
It really much came down to is like our flight was at 7, so you're boarding, I don't know, 6:30, 6:45. We got there 2 hours before our
Like
flight,
5
which was
a.m.
too much. But it came down to like, what's the big difference between me waking up at 3:15 a.m. or 4:15 a.m.? Like my sleep's already gonna be shitty no
1
matter
hour
what, and I
is
was
a
gonna
lot.
sleep on the plane.
1 hour
Um,
is a lot, dude.
I don't know. Clutch purchase of the trip started out hot at 5 a.m. in the PGA Superstore at DTW. Bought two memory foam neck pillows since I needed to replace my old ones. So
I
neck
gotta send
pillows.
this you a picture, Evan.
I fell asleep so good. on the plane
Grant
with
is
that
an
neck
iPad
pillow
kid.
on.
It's bad.
In airports,
It's
in
bad.
airports, yes.
Grant.
I
How like you look like
I
a
f-
13-year-old.
I found how much he looked like a 13-year-old when they were driving back to and from or Nashville, and Marissa sent the video of Grant
And I'm
on his
telling you,
phone in the
this-
back seat.
This picture's absurd.
that was a tough one.
The
It's
neck
open
pillow
your
that
headphones.
Grant
What do you want me
isn't
to
even
do?
using. That worst purchase of all time.
I don't even think I know what you're talking
No,
about.
because Marissa sent it to me, and we talked about you. She said, "I wish I never bought him those headphones."
Oh yeah, she gets
Aw.
pissed about those because they are noise canceling. She tries to talk to me like on the plane. When I get on a plane too, I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to go to
If he's
sleep.
sleeping, leave him alone.
Not even using the neck pillow.
Yeah, okay, but here's the
Big
thing.
headphones, glasses.
Alex, you're
Okay, but here's the thing.
naive.
When you fall asleep, wherever your body lays and you're sleeping, your body lays. And his
I'm
neck
just saying,
just happened to be...
I've had
His neck
pillows
finally
in the
natural
past. They're like the biggest waste of money of all time because you don't even
No.
really use them.
You do.
And I saw a guy walking around the airport with his neck pillow on. It's even worse. You just look.
Yeah, he doesn't
I
want
do
to carry it.
Oh my god!
I do that.
Doesn't want to carry it.
Comfort. I don't want to carry it. And clip it on my back. I don't want to do
People
that. I just wanna have
used
it on
to
my back.
back in the day. They would like dress up when they went to the airport. Now Grant's turned it into just slumber party mode.
Old people do dress up still. It's crazy.
I kind of respect
they put
it.
on their like.
I hate
I
that.
don't because it's.
They're sitting on a
Keep your life
plane.
at the airport.
I could.
They put you next to a hot broad.
I should just start going to the airport.
That's my whole point.
But you can't get across the section anymore. You can't where all the people are. You have to have your boarding pass to get through it.
Please put me next to a nice single lady in her mid-20s. Let's see what happens.
You know, actually though, Evan,
Didn't get that.
I learned that fact in Atlanta. You still can go into the airport to pick up people and arrivals without checking in through any security. You just like can't obviously get on a plane. So that was old school. The Atlanta, you can actually go into the airport.
I think you can do that anywhere.
But you can't. I'm saying you can't go where they like board. Like everyone hangs out and board. I want to be right there, just like people
you
watching.
can't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
No, you have to pass security checks. You can't get past without your boarding pass.
You could literally, yes, they don't check for boarding passes when you go through security at DTW or in Houston.
That's true, but part of me
Security,
thinks
they
the
just check your
IDs
ID.
I think the ID scan pulls up in their system like what flight you're registered for,
Potentially.
unless I'm way off. But I feel like there has to be something with your
some
flight.
technology.
There has to be. You have to show them your boarding pass.
No, you do not have to show them your boarding pass anymore.
That is true. They've like taken that away.
They got rid of that.
a little bit.
Because I had mine out, and he's like, I don't need that. I'm like, okay.
Looks like I got plans
I'm not sure
Saturday.
what changed.
He's going to go find his wife at the airport.
Conference championship Saturday. He's just gonna sit
In the airport.
Oh, my God. The amount of people wearing grown men. Grown men. I'm not talking like our age. I'm talking like 50s, like grown-ass adults wearing blue T-shirts with yellow bet on the chest and just walking around in them. Tons of like middle-aged men wearing those
They
T-shirts.
probably don't even know what it means either.
And so many Michigan Tom Brady jerseys in the airport. Unbelievable.
Wow, that's a wild jersey.
I was going to throw up in the DTW airport. Just Michigan shirts everywhere. Michigan versus everybody on a 75-year-old.
No, that's kind of funny. That's a little funny.
It was ridiculous. Good for you guys, though. Big win.
Thanks. Get to Atlanta Airport, which is they claim to be the most trafficked airport in the world.
Correct.
So I don't
Have
know.
you never been
how
there?
Never. Hartsfield International, never been.
Been there like 20
Pretty
times.
gross.
It's like the most common airport to get to a connecting flight. If you have a
Delta
layover,
Hub.
like it's going to be in Atlanta.
So it's about an hour and a half drive to Auburn. Shout out to Betty for picking us up Thanksgiving morning. Drove back down to Auburn. Was pretty tired, but showered, got ready. Shout out to the people that cooked all day. It was a very intensive operation. I helped make some green bean casserole. I brought the white trash green bean casserole to the party. Everyone ate it though, so it still played. Great food. I think I ate the most food of anyone. I had a full.
Were you keeping track of everybody under the radar or over the radar?
People were outwardly saying what other people were doing. They said like, "Oh, Tommy has gotten seconds, and so has Grant." And no one else had gotten that big a second. So I was on the clock. And then I was told to stop eating because I was making other people feel nauseous because I was chewing my food so long that they thought I was going to throw up because I was too full. Because chicken is dry.
What a absolute just one-liner. Grant, I didn't know where you're going with that. People, you were making them nauseous because you were chewing so well. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, you're going to throw up.
Yeah, because they're like, sometimes people like chew too much like when they're about to puke because they feel it. I reminded them of that because of how much I was stuffing down my face.
It was too good.
Electric charcuterie spread.
Gross eater.
I was hot. Well, so this was weird for me because
you're just like
this
a
is the first
gross
time-
eater to begin with. Though.
Did they have enough sauce for you?
Probably not.
Did you bring your
they
own
had
sauce?
gravy. They had gravy.
Grant's a
I put gravy on my
BYOS
turkey and
everywhere
everything.
guy.
I did tell you a veteran move that I did for the tailgate, but first on Saturday or Thursday still. The first time I've ever had Thanksgiving dinner late in the day. We didn't eat till like 6:30 p.m., which is we don't do that in Michigan. You eat at noon or you eat at 12:30 around then for the Lions. Like that's normally when I'm eating a big meal growing up. Maybe 1 p.m., 2 p.m. But I had to pace myself with all like the meat and cheese boards and stuff throughout. So I was kind of getting worried I wasn't saving enough room for dinner, but I put on a big time performance, ate a lot of food.
Sounds like it.
Like you didn't need to do that.
Didn't get super drunk. Friday got my, I guess, experience of got my gear for the Saturday game at the Auburn like team store. Went to Buc-ee's, the gas station. That place is a mecca.
People talk about it here all the time. Like, have you been to a Buc-ee's yet? I'm like, yes, I've been to a Buc-ee's on road trips before. Like, aren't they
120 gas pumps?
Aren't they
pretty
incredible?
Crazy? They were. I was blown away.
I got your first Buc-ee's
burrito. Yeah, I took a picture with the buck out front.
Dude, they're so ridiculous. They pay well
Bussy?
though, if you want to work there. The
If
Bussy.
you mispronounce it, it's Bussy.
The Bussies.
The Bussies. They do. They pay like over $100,000 if you're a manager. It's crazy.
It's probably a ridiculous
sure
amount of
how to do that.
hours.
Yeah, it's true. And like just terrible customer service things they have to deal with. So did that, and then we went to downtown Auburn and
Wait.
classic like what?
My dad and I were talking about this on Saturday.
Okay.
What town is Auburn in?
Auburn,
Auburn.
Alabama.
It is Auburn.
Yeah, Katie and Matt live in like Opelika, which is like a town neighborhood.
Opelika.
But like Auburn University is in Auburn. Like if I looked at a
it
map,
is a town called Auburn. Yeah,
That's
I
what
wasn't sure
said,
that either. I had
and
to
I
look
was
it up.
like, now that I say this out loud, like I don't actually know if I've ever heard anyone say Auburn, Alabama. But
yeah,
good to know.
Yeah. Went downtown. So on Black Friday there, the girls classic. They're like, oh, let's go shopping. The fellas like, let's just go to like a crappy college bar called the Halftime. Just like awful service, like just gross bar, but it was full of like other dudes whose like wives and daughters were shopping, and we were just sweating out the Nebraska-Iowa game with like 20 other dudes. A couple of Nebraska fans in there just comically laughing, watching these interceptions be thrown to end the game. It was hilarious. I did a dead turtle shot, first time ever. It was actually pretty good. It's vodka, pickle juice, and hot sauce. Sounds disgusting, but it was
Vodka,
delicious.
pickle juice, and hot
Sounds like a
sauce.
good.
That
way
fits
to
your
not get
personality,
hungover.
Grant, to a T. So
Yeah, I thought so too when I read it. I was like, you know what? This sounds like a shot I wouldn't actually hate.
what'd they call it?
It was pretty good. A dead turtle, because I thought about it later. It's kind of up. So the hot sauce is thicker and sits at the bottom. So it's like green liquid with like red pouring out the bottom. So it looks like a turtle died or something.
Dead
It's kinda
turtle
fucked up.
shot.
Dead turtle shot. Yep. And then Friday we didn't do a ton at night. I probably got the most drunk Friday night. But wasn't too drunk at all. We watched
Just getting
the
drunk
football
doesn't make it
game,
cool.
Civil War game.
She only makes you cool.
You're right.
Saturday, a lot of errands from the jump. I was definitely pushing the group. Like, hey, let's go to the tailgate. Yeah, like cleaning out the raw turkey cooler so we could use it for food.
I saw that. Huh?
Getting gas in the car, going to Publix to get ice and some more booze. Like I was like
I actually hate that.
pushing
All of that.
pushing the group to like want, because I'm still like a college kid at heart. Like I was like thinking about the Michigan State game, how we were tailgating for a 7:30 kick at 9 a.m., which is aggressive. But I was like, hey, we should be at the Iron Bowl like fully set up by like 9:30. I want to be like hammering high noons at 10 a.m. at the
Yeah,
latest.
I don't
So
think I could deal with
Dale-
an old person like slowly scrap together tailgate. I don't think I can do it. I'm still at the age where I need to get going and start drinking.
Yeah. And thankfully, I had Dale on my side. So Dale, Marissa, and I went in the first wave and got like everything set up. We were right next to the parent tailgate for the Auburn football players, but I don't really know what anyone looks like. So I could have been near Peyton Thorne's parents over the hill there. We weren't like in with them, but they were over there. Pretty good setup. We had a table like for flip cup and whatnot. Had Thanksgiving leftovers for food. It was like 64 degrees and sunny. Sweated out the Michigan Ohio State game on an iPad. Didn't go into the Iron Bowl till probably midway
It's a
through the
hot
first
topic
quarter.
at Cody's house.
there was 5 of us. So Alex's girlfriend, Katie, I know that's confusing. They both are, well, one's married to a Katie, one's dating a Katie. She's an Ohio State fan. So the 2 of us were not leaving the tailgate. And then like Dale wanted to stay and a couple others. So there's like 5 of us who just stayed and watched on the iPad. As soon as the interception happened, we started walking to the stadium. Shout out to this one guy, Terry. No way he's listening. He's from Louisville. He was like he was like a dad of one of the other people that works for Auburn. He just kept gassing me up in Flip Cup. Oh my God. I need him to follow me to like every event I go to, because he was on my team and he wasn't great at Flip Cup. He's like, God, Grant's just a 1 flip every time. I had like, because we had the iPad on the table, the food table, but when I went to go play Flip Cup, I took YouTube TV on my phone so I could like just stare at the Michigan game while like waiting for my turn in Flip Cup. So it was absurd. I was just staring like this.
Kid.
I was just staring at my phone and flipping, and I got lucky a few times where it was like 1 flip. And Terry was like, "He's not even paying attention to the game. He's watching football and flipping one time." And I was like, "Terry, I love you." So, might be one of my new favorite humans. Iron Bowl. It's safe to say I'm addicted to SEC football. I think our friend group needs to start prioritizing like a bucket list over X amount of years that we go to every single big time SEC venue for a big game, because it is sweet. It is. There's something about it. I don't really know what it is.
Or both.
The tailgate was hard because we were kind of secluded from like the big spread. Like I'm sure you could just like tailgate hop and people would be friendly to you. We didn't really have that because we were set up more in a corner by one of their athletic offices. But like the stadium, there's one thing that we don't have in Big Ten country is hedges, which sounds stupid, but like lining your stadium with nice green bushes looks awesome. And the colors and the traditions, like all our schools have traditions, but the level of like, I don't know how to describe it. Their PA system was better. Like the way they just pumped music in was really good. I guess it's a testament to Matt as well, who like works out all that, but it was like world-class like entertainment for the game. And obviously the game itself was sweet, which helps a lot. I do think this. I think Southern people probably swear like as much as we do, but I think they do it in private. I don't think they cuss publicly a ton because I think they try to put on the Southern charm.
Jesus.
Alex, you got a point to that?
Yeah.
Oh,
they're
Jesus.
big Jesus people.
Because there was a couple dadgums, like when Auburn's backup quarterback, Robbie, his name, he came in for a design run. Yeah, and he lost like 7 yards, and Peyton had been playing really good. And one kid was like, "Get Robbie out the dadgum game!" like screaming it from behind me. And so I'm like, all right, like he's fired up. I can be a little fired up. And mind you, like I had some high noons. I was into this game. Like I did what I did in Miami. Like I was the biggest Auburn fan on the planet. At this point,
we all knew that's exactly what you were doing.
Like I was clapping, I was screaming. But my point was, towards the end of the game, the Alabama corner of the end zone, with their band behind them, they were playing their songs and cheering. And they did it twice when Auburn players got injured. So like Auburn player gets injured, everyone's quiet. Then they just take that as their time to like do their chants because everyone else is quiet. And people just start booing from Auburn when they did that. And I was like, oh, like scream that. And like a couple people, like they didn't gasp, but you could tell like it kind of caught their attention that someone actually screamed. And I was like, what? You guys like wouldn't yell that if like you don't yell that in the South?
Wow. So I don't know. Everyone's like, that guy's from the Midwest.
Yeah, I mean their accents are insanely thick. So like the minute you talk, it's crazy how different they sound. There was this lady in front of us who kind of was like Sarah Palin. No, not Sarah Palin. Oh my god, I'm confused. Sandra Bullock from The Blind Side. Like she was a Southern like kind of football mom, and she would just kind of like look back, and it was like Matt's dad and I, and she would like talk, like double check like if we were yelling that we thought it was certainly a penalty on something. Like she's like, "Are you sure?" And like her accent. And when I tell you, when they scored that, when they muffed that punt, she just crumbled to the bleachers like a sack of potatoes. Like I'll never get that image out of my mind of her just like crumbling. Like she covered her hands like this and was just shaking her head like, no, not again. Like, and I was like, oh my god.
What was how upset were you when Alabama scored on that?
Really upset. I don't know. I would have loved to have a camera on me. I don't know.
Dead quiet. Like awful.
It was like one of those eerie quiets, and then you look across because we were like directly across the other side of the end zone from the Auburn like slice of pizza, like what they took up, and they were just going bananas. And I was like because they were loud, but like everyone else around you was just like mouths open. I don't know what I did. I don't know if I surrendered Cobra or what. There's a world where like I was surrender Cobra and CBS picks me up, and I'm just like I'm mean because I'm not sure what I did in the moment. It just sucked because I didn't even really, I kind of thought about like what the field storming situation was going to look like, but I knew the group I was with. I'm like, no one's going to storm the field. Like that's insane. Like we're all like, it's a family group.
No, you had to go.
Marissa and Katie took Miller up to the concourse with like a minute left. Cause they're like, if they storm the field, like
just missed it.
We're not risking it. No, they watched, they could see like on the TV, but they're like, we're not going to get trampled with a baby. It's not worth it.
I forgot.
Like,
football is not the priority. Maybe.
So I'm sitting there, and there's like, this was after they had fumbled that snap, so they were backed up. It was probably 3rd and like 26, and Betty like taps me on the shoulder, and she's like, "If they win, us two are storming the field." I was like wide eyes, like what? Like another person's in, so I have a reason to go. And I started like mapping it out because directly in front of us are the hedges, and they're so wide and they're pointy, so you can't really jump over them. So we were gonna have to like wait and walk around the tunnel, and then the end zone is just brick. You get easy step down. So we would be like the last people on the field. But I was like, all right, I know exactly where we're gonna go. We might get pushed in the back, but we're just gonna like walk that way if it happens. But she did say she didn't jinx it because she said, but Alabama always pulls this shit out, so I'm just waiting for what's gonna happen. And I was like, no way, 4th and 31. And like, you couldn't have placed it better. Like, I'm sure it didn't hit the same from the other part of the end zone. We were staring at that corner of the end zone. Like, it was in our lap, that play. And when I saw him release it, I was just like tracking it, thinking like, whatever. And then when I looked down to the players, I saw he created separation. And then immediately, I think I screamed like, no, he's out of bounds. He's out of bounds. And I saw the slow-mo replay. I was like, oh my God, he just scored a touchdown. It was...
You rushing the field
surreal.
would have been an unbelievable, like that word would be allowed. That unbelievable moment. If you got to do
I was going to like, I was going to lock Snapchat and just run. I was just going to run.
Like that's incredible. I don't think any of us have ever been a part of a court storm or a field storm. Dude, it would be awesome.
The ones at Butler.
Everyone hates on field storming and court storming. I think it's the coolest thing ever.
It would have been so cool. And like, they're like 3rd down, get on your feet is pretty cool. They do like it's like the Pursuit of Happiness Steve Aoki remix. It's like durr, 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 and then like everyone just starts screaming after that. They have a pretty good setup with that. Like it was deafening loud.
So where do you guys want to go?
I was losing my
year?
voice.
SEC game. What stadium?
I don't know.
You just tell me a stadium and I'll plan it.
Georgia, Alabama, Alex.
Well, that's just a very difficult one to start with. But here we go.
He wants to start out hot. It's got to be game dependent too. We're going to have to be a little bit flexible because
that's why I said pick.
I guess Iron Bowl,
and then I'll see what we get.
I mean, I put Ole Miss and LSU high up there right now.
LSU is number one on my list, I think.
It was wild. The whole night too, I was a classic guy where people were still getting over it in the group, and I was like, I just kept saying, Betty, we were one play away from storming the field at the Iron Bowl. Like I just kept distraughtly saying it, like drinking bourbon after, just drinking myself in sorrow. I was like, we were one play away from storming the field at the Iron Bowl.
It's funny because like
you may really never get that again.
Like affiliation whatsoever to Auburn, but like you're so invested. I love that about
so invested.
You do that for Michigan State.
I learned all their chants, everything. I was just like, it was a maddening game to watch, though. With Jalen Milroe is not a fun quarterback to root against because he is a playmaker.
Georgia plays at Alabama next year.
How did your scouting go?
That was a funny tweet. I did laugh.
I forgot. Someone said that. I didn't even think of doing that. Someone said like something about Connor Stalions in the crowd. And I was like, oh, I could record Alabama for the playoff. So I just did it as a bit, but they were in a huddle, so it didn't even make sense, but I just wanted to get it done with. My very last thing, too much time on all this, but shout out good airline travel, because people always complain about airline travel. I had flawless airline travel both days. So that shout out, I want to recognize that while we can.
Mine was pretty good, despite the one guy.
Despite, yeah. First timer. Let's get into Michigan versus Ohio State. Let's get it out of the way now. We'll do that. We'll do Jonathan Smith. We'll do any other NCAA stuff, and then we'll do lines and close it out. Is there any place in this game you guys are wanting to start? I have some thoughts, but I want to let you guys talk for a second because I just talked a crap ton in my review.
Yes, when the game was decided.
In my mind, when it was decided, or when you thought?
When I decided that Michigan was going to win again, was on Kyle McCord's absolute poop pick, garbage throw. I was like, oh my God, if this is Kyle McCord, we're doomed. And I say we because it felt like it was a we game.
Did you get the full we by the end?
No,
of it?
I wasn't nearly as well. Okay, I will say Evan, Ryan, and I were definitely clapping for first downs for Ohio State. But I think off the record,
I did stand up and scream when Marvin Harrison had that one-handed catch.
But
I knew Evan would be, and I respect that because he's like honest with that. I was curious, Alex, like how you would.
I was certainly rooting for Ohio State. I was trying not to be obnoxious in front of like Cody Botcher, and I was like trying to be respectful. Like I didn't want to like get personal about it or anything weird. I was certainly rooting for Ohio State. But when Kyle McCord threw that interception, and the Buffs came out,
that's so early in the game.
Yeah,
I feel like that's like overreaction, Alex.
Yeah, but I would say
that's what we talked about. Don't do last week.
But in my head, what came up was okay. So Michigan beat Ohio State last year, and Ohio State had C.J. Stroud, so they didn't have some poopy quarterback making bad mistakes. And then I was like watching Kyle McCord the first couple of drives. I'm like, if this is the guy, like, there's no way because Michigan's better than they were last year or the same. And Ohio State, you could argue, is worse. So I was like, I just don't see a scenario where – and granted, Ohio State ended up putting some drives together and making it close. But, like, it just felt like at that point I was like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
I'm sure it doesn't feel like that as a Michigan fan because, you know, it's like the biggest game of your life. So every play feels like things could change.
Maybe it was because I was drinking at a tailgate, which is probably the biggest factor here, but it really didn't like I was like dialed into it, but I wasn't really super nervous until the very last drive because I had trust in them and Ohio State tied it up at 17-17, but they never led in the game. And I think like it didn't really dawn on me to that last drive that they were in full position to just win the game in the moment. And that's when I got nervous. But I like definitely been more on pins and needles in games before than this. But again, it probably is a testament to that I was watching it on an iPad and my phone at a tailgate for another big football.
The last drive
probably wasn't the same level.
I felt as nervous as I have watching a football game in a while, which is embarrassing. But like I was very nervous for everybody involved for that last drive. It just like in the room, like we were like all like constantly talking about other things and like, you know, just being dudes chatting, like watching football.
Yeah.
Like most of the game. And then that last like 5 minutes of the game, it was just like pins and needles. Like you could cut the tension with a knife. It was awkward. It was uncomfortable. I was nervous just to see how people would blow up or react.
I mean, I remember when they got the ball, like a minute left, no timeouts. I'm like, all right, like I'm not afraid of Kyle McCord, but then they moved quick, 20-yard like, passes. Oh, no.
Here we go.
And I thought we were actually like shaping up for a moment, like when they had it at Notre Dame, and I was like picturing that Notre Dame scene, but in the big house, and it was making me sick to my stomach as I was watching the plays happening. And then like the pick happened in the blink of an eye, and I didn't even like really want to stick around and see if they're going to review it. I was just like, I'm counting that. Like, there's a world where they pick it off. I run into the Iron Bowl, and I convinced myself it never was overturned. Like, yep, nope, he picked it off. I saw it with my own eyes because I was like, I'm not entertaining the fact that he dropped that ball. Like, it had to have been a pick.
I did think that game was going to end in a Kyle McCord pick before that drive, but I also didn't think Ohio State would have moved it that fast and gave me false hope.
Yeah. As it got going, and then they got the lucky break of the fumble that they recovered. I was like, "Oh no!" Like things are stacking here. That like they might.
It was the tide was turning, and you could feel it in the room. It was like, "Oh boy."
Evan, you're kind of like main takeaways or takes you have from the game?
From your point where I thought like it was over, Ohio State had a moment to answer. I think it was they tied it up 17-17. I think Michigan went right down the field and scored 24-17. And then I think that following drive, I'm pretty sure Ohio State went 3 and out. Just had
They had 3 plays for 1 yard.
Yeah, just had a real blunder of a drive there. So I feel like that there, and I think Michigan kicked another field goal after that. Mm-hmm. So they had a 10-point lead. It's just kind of like 10 points with 8 minutes left. It's kind of hard to get back of based off of the offense that Michigan has. And we saw that there at the end where Michigan had the ball. I know they only kicked another field goal, but to take 5 to 7 minutes off the clock with
I couldn't
ease.
believe Ohio State got the ball back. I thought for sure Michigan was going to run it out. It was going to be over.
They went for a 4th down at one point. I'm pretty sure, if I do remember correctly, they went for a 4th and 2. And I think Ross said, it's going to be another Blake Horn run, and they did a play action pass. They did a play action pass, I believe, or a quick.
Just felt like any short yardage situation.
That was actually earlier in the game, surprisingly.
Easily got it. Just felt like every time. Like if they didn't get on 3rd and 1, they were getting it on 4th and 1. It just never felt like Ohio State had any ability to stop them, and it also felt like any time Ohio State gets close, Michigan would just punch back.
I did say at one point, or think to myself in the second half, just like this kind of does suck that these aren't 2 like SEC or like shit defenses, because you see other games and rivalry games and it's like 48-45. You see like the 50 to whatever it is LSU Ole Miss game. And here we're limited possession, so every possession matters. And just like, yeah, we are Big Ten buffeting it for most of the game, and we want to see points. As a third party, doesn't really care too much about the game. I want to see points, but everybody really wants to see a good game. So it's just one of those things. You didn't really get that many good big plays to inflate the scoreboard. I mean, but overall, I do think that most of these teams are evenly matched, and it comes down to the person under center, and that's the difference in the game. J.J. McCarthy never made a mistake, and McCord he had the last interception. He had pocket in his face. It's a young quarterback. He's going to throw the ball no matter what. I think 75% of the quarterbacks are going to throw that ball in that situation.
It's the shit pick in the beginning.
It's the interception in your own, backed up in your own area, plus the missed field goal at the end of the first half. I think those 2 mistakes was what cost them the game, not so much the last drive.
I will say JJ tried to make an idiotic young QB mistake. Like, my God.
That throw.
Like, 100% it worked out. Good throw. You can say whatever you want to say about it. I don't really care. If I am a Michigan fan or a football fan, you do not want to see JJ ever try to do anything like that ever again. Because that could have
been. What player are you calling on?
He threw it across his body.
It was on that.
Oh, yes, he was rolling out right and he threw all the way across his body. That was in sick.
It looked like.
Yes, I know what play you're talking about.
It looked like a pick six, but the guy fell down as he was like coming.
Could have been
an
absolute disaster. Like if he tries to make a throw like that in the playoff or in a national championship game, the result could easily go the other way where it's an interception. So that would good for him that he completed it. But Jesus, I would have been off my rocker if a Michigan State quarterback.
He had a couple like butterfly ones. He had the rollout to the right where he hit someone on the sideline.
That was a hell of a throw.
That they kept their
crazy
throw.
Ripped one in there.
So what was the room? I know bias is involved, and it really it was one of those bang bang plays in this rivalry. The Roman Wilson touchdown was an insane throw. I'm obviously seeing it through Michigan glasses. So I was like, I thought it was a touchdown. It was more like whatever they call it on the field. You just got to run with it.
I think
because I just thought it was a weird spot on his shoulder, but Ty goes to offense and that's just how it is in sports. I was like, I feel like you just got to give it to him.
The only second
that you can overturn that.
Second opinion that I had coming through it was the ball could have slightly been moving and he didn't complete the process. But then you could also argue, well, he got it stripped or ripped out from the defender. I was indifferent on either of the calls. I mean, hell of a throw, hell of a catch. I just think I don't know what the Ohio State guy was doing. I think his number was 25.
One guy just had to turn around, and it would have.
He was facing JJ, and then literally as soon as JJ broke, that's when he turned around and he fit it through that tight window. I think if that kid just faced JJ the entire time, he probably would have been able to jump up and just get a hand on it.
Pick it, deflect it.
But hey, he didn't. So hell of a play right there. And I think I touched on it earlier. I was like, who's going to cover Roman Wilson? Because I know the tight ends ate you up, but you kind of live with the tight ends eating you up because they're not going to run away from you. Get down the red zone. You have Michigan has one offensive weapon, target, skill guy. And that was Roman Wilson. He made the play.
Because Donovan Edwards is still in the portal.
Because Donovan Edwards has entered the transfer portal, correct.
Mentally in the portal. 10 carries, though. 31 yards.
He didn't,
and a pass. He
did have a pass.
He had that, but other than that, running the ball, he still just
looks a hell of a play. What a way to start the fourth quarter. That was
that the play of that was the first play of the fourth quarter?
Yeah, started the fourth quarter.
God, Grant, you have too much details in your head. This is what you should say.
I mean, I rewatched it last night, and I was like, I've seen everything there is to see about this game.
Good for you.
The craziest thing, though, is like there's so many different parts of it, but I've seen a couple stats that have really like kind of blown me away. This one being the biggest since the last 22 meetings in this game, the team that has the most rushing yards wins.
It's the Michigan State Michigan stat.
Do they have one similar?
They had that one for like the previous like 40 or 30 games. It was like that.
It's just wild to think that like all these angles we look at and
it was actually
who knows, but it's like.
The point of emphasis, Grant, I don't know what kind of pre-games you watched or whatnot. I know you touched on like the big noon kickoff, but they just kept on asking Urban, like, what do you think of the game? Like, what's the key factor? And he literally just kept on saying that. It was like Ohio State has to be able to run the football because the last 21 games, if whoever runs the ball more does it, and Ohio State hasn't done that. And it's still funny because he didn't do it.
Thanks for asking. I did do Big Noon Kickoff because I was boycotting game day with the rest of the blue wall. So I refused to put it on the TV in the morning.
Good for you, man.
which is funny, though. I thought about the hypocrisy because I remember last year at Alex's house, I refused to do Fox until it was noon because I didn't want to see Urban Meyer's face. And now I've gone full heel and like I actually will listen to Urban Meyer because I'm boycotting Pete Thamel and ESPN.
I mean, Urban's... better than
Urban's awesome on TV. He's awesome. They don't let him.
They don't let him break down games enough. He should be breaking down every single game, every single matchup of every single weekend.
He spends a majority because I'll be honest, I watched a little more Big Noon Kickoff than usual this year when Urban was
bright green tie,
potentially going to be a coach. So I watched a little more. He just sits there for 70% of the show, like no one asks him anything. And then when he talks, you're like, holy shit, he actually knows about football, and you have all these other bozos talking. Like, why wouldn't we have him talk?
I could use less Mark Ingram more.
Why even make Mark Ingram fly to Ann Arbor? Like, go be in Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah, be the sideline reporter at the Iron Bowl.
Yes. What a joke.
To your point, though, yeah, they really did. I mean, I don't know if it's because Ohio State got away from it, but Travion Henderson looked pretty like a pedestrian running back
injured
from Michigan's defensive line.
Oh, he was coming up limp. He was limping around during the game.
But I think in the beginning still, though, he wasn't popping much off. Chip Trainum, actually, if you look at his numbers, was 6 for 37. I think he did look okay, but I don't know. They threw it 30 times, ran it 28. I know we talked about in the preview. They didn't really run the ball, Ohio State, too well. Michigan didn't run it amazingly, but just definitely more consistent. And I think the biggest difference, too, like just thinking about the two teams, is like you really can just rely on that 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, like Alex said. Like I'm at the point where I'm stunned if a team stuffs Michigan on a 3rd and 1 or 4th.
That's how I feel about the Lions.
Like automatically in my brain,
just feels like they're always going to pick up.
Yeah, I didn't even turn to Ryan during the 4th and inches on the goal line, and Michigan easily got into the touchdown. And he was upset. And I was like, did you honestly think you were going to stop him on the 4th and an inch? Did you honestly think you were going to stop him?
Saying that doesn't make anyone feel better in the moment.
Correct. I get that. But like deep down as a football person, you just have to realize like
Evan was saying
we got to chalk this up.
every time it was 1 yard. He's like, this is a first down. Evan was doing that. And you're right. But
I have zero proof of telling me otherwise it's not going to be a first down. I have zero proof of telling me it's not going to be a first down.
It's fair.
And I know Ohio State doesn't have that luxury.
I guess who ran into each other? And that was the only time you guys stopped it. It was because you guys ran into each other.
Yeah.
Is that the game I was thinking? Was it the Michigan? Did you guys run into each other? Or was I thinking something? I was thinking the Packers game. Take that back. Erase everything I just said. I'm blending the games. Too much football this weekend.
That's right.
Too much football this
AJ
weekend.
Dillon ran into Jordan Love.
Too much football. Sorry. That was a Packers game.
That was a great moment. Now Ohio State can't do it to that level of consistency, but you guys basically were Ohio State fans in this game.
I want more motion.
I'm curious, Ryan.
I want more motion and more you have to get eye candy with this offense. Of how many people you have to account for, you have to start moving people around. It's too traditional NFL style. Either only one guy in motion. Okay, if we want Marvin Harrison, he's going to line up in the slot instead of on the outside. He's going to line up a little tighter. No, start moving people around.
No, but I like it because I was curious. Ryan Day is getting some coaching questions. Mine was more about his lack of aggressiveness, especially compared to Sharon Moore. And again, I know the offensive line is different, but
questionable calls that
I was a little tipsy high noon, but I was I said notably it was the third drive of the game. Both teams punted, tight.
A lot of people in our
OSU 46, and I'm just like, if you're not going for that and you've lost the last two, I know it's at the 50 and it is a defensive game. I don't think it was a bad decision then. The big decision was end of the half, 4th and 2. You go for a 52-yard field goal and you play for that. That was crazy. Because there was only a minute left on the clock. You're not going to get Michigan's not going to try to go down the field in 52 seconds. They've never done that under the Harbaugh era. If there's 52 seconds left and Michigan has more than 60 yards to go, they're going to just run it twice and take a knee. So you don't have to worry about giving them the ball back. The 4th and 2 at the Michigan 34. And they just decided to run it down and kick a 52-yard field goal was such behavior from Ryan Day. That was where I was like, I think he might just be overthinking this whole thing, especially when you're on the road, you've lost 2 in a row. And then you look on the other side, and Sharon Moore, he played pretty fast and loose. He was going to make the aggressive decisions, even if it cost them. They picked up 2 4th and 1s on a touchdown drive. Granted, you have a better offensive line, but one of the calls was that play action pass to Loveland. That was a ballsy call too. Everything that he did on the other side, I thought was surprising to me.
It's more than fair to say that Ryan Day is probably a bit in his head about this game. Considering people call for his job every year now when he goes 11-1 because he can't win the one game that the fan base cares about. And you've seen Ohio State in the past fire a guy who couldn't beat Michigan. So I'm sure he's overthinking it. I'm sure we talk about coaches, how they make shitty choices all the time. He's probably great in games against Purdue and other teams where he doesn't have to think. He's just yeah, go for it. We'll get it. But in this game, he seems to be overanalyzing it, doing too much. And I'm not going to say they lost strictly because of his coaching. I wouldn't say that's fair. At the end of the day, your players have to execute. So that is what it is. But so there's certainly question marks. He certainly did some things where I'm like, that's not what a coach that wants to win would do. He just seems more conservative, like you said, Grant. And then also to Evan's point earlier, I feel like when I used to watch Ohio State, they'd have Garrett Wilson running across the middle, Olave across the middle, crossers, movement, guys up the seam, doing a bunch of crazy shit I've never seen before. And I'm like, holy shit, how is anybody ever going to stop Ohio State? And then now I watch them and it's just vanilla pro style offense that just doesn't make me think I need to be terrified of them at all. They're not the same flash that they used to be. I don't know if that's a Ryan Day thing. I don't know if that's a Brian Hartline thing, or I don't know, but it could be someone.
Ryan calls the plays, so I think it's Ryan.
I would assume it's Ryan. Just wanted to get
Did you guys see that clip of him bouncing around in the circle before the games?
I don't think I did see that clip.
Oh, it was.
I've watched it 25 times. It's so funny.
I don't think I've seen that.
This might be sacrilegious to say, as I've been on the bad place to be social media. On my For You, I see a lot of Ohio State accounts now because of the whole sign stealing thing. Elon Musk's algorithm would feed them to me because he knows that's what I'm looking to keep my eyeballs on the app. I do, in a weird way, I feel a little bit bad for some of them, the like more respectful ones, because it does suck. And granted, I'm still gonna laugh at them and have fun at their misery, because one like big Ohio State account put it best. He goes, I cannot believe Michigan fans did this 8 times in a row. He goes, we've lost 3 in a row, and I can't even imagine 5 more.
I actually have a great point on this. Friend at work, Ohio State fan. He said to me today, he's like, I know, like, whatever, Michigan, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I know you have a bunch of Michigan friends. Like, he literally asked me, he's like, how did they deal with this? Because, like, this is terrible. I said to him, and I was like, well, they had the Rich Rod Brady Hoke years where they were just bad in general, losing to everybody. So, like, at least, you know, you're winning other games. He's like, but does it honestly matter? And I was like, well, the advice I was given that you just got to go numb to it and not care about college football, or just like pick other teams and other players. And he's like, yeah, it's a dark time right now. I don't know how I'm going to come out of it. So down bad. He was down bad today. It was 43 degrees this morning. He came in you can cut this part, but it was 43 degrees this morning. He came in and just straight up a polo. And I was like, dude, it's 40 outside. And he's like, I'm just numb to everything right now, man. Like, wow.
Dude, it is so twisted. And we are like, when, you know, girls look at us like, why do you care so much? Like, this is stupid. And they try to make us feel dumb. I do agree sometimes, because it shouldn't make sense that like coffee tastes better in the morning after you beat Ohio State. Like problems.
The sun was shining higher, birds were chirping louder.
We beat Ohio State. The snow on the flight in from sunny Auburn looks beautiful to me. Like, oh, a nice crisp snowfall. I love this. We're back in the mitten state. Like, Ohio State fans could never deal with this adversity. Like, everything in your life is just like, we're just better than them in their state. And a lot of their, like, the one guy, oh my God. I was feeling myself. I was saving all my bookmarks for that moment. The one dude on that, I think his name's Big Ryan. I want to shout him out for being an absolute gigantic loser. I just quote tweeted one of his tweets where he would said Michigan's super soft and they'll for sure lose. And all I said was, oh man, ... instant block.
I think that's
just
fair.
From one quote tweet from their account.
I mean, I honestly do. Because maybe not blocking, but like, you know how many people, like, when you lose a game like that, it's just time to you just don't want to see it. Like, when Michigan State loses a game they should not lose, when they're like ranked highly, or loses some shit team, like when they lose to Purdue, like, it's like full week. I don't want to see social media at all. I just don't want to see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
It's just because we're so invested. It's disgusting how invested we are. I was listening to a podcast and Bill Simmons, like, because someone asked him, like, how, like, what, some non-sports fan was like, how, and like, why are you so invested in sports? Like, what is it? Like, what's it about sports? And he's like, I honestly don't know. I think you're just born with it. Like, there's just some people that are just born who just love sports. Like, you just have it, like, when you're like 5 years old. And I think about the 3 of us when we were all 5.
It's just how you're raised. When you're waking up or growing up every single day and there is a sports game on the TV, no matter what it is, Red Wings, Pistons, Lions, Tigers, no matter how bad or how good we were, it was on the TV. And when you grow up with that, it is a mindset. Growing up and going to Michigan State football games, going to the tailgate, experiencing that since you were like 3 years old. It's part of your life. It's part of your DNA. And that will never go away. And now with social media, it just keeps on building up and building up and building up to more and more until there's a climax of like the actual like euphoria of winning the greatest game of all time. And we haven't experienced that yet. Our peak right now between Alex and I was Michigan State, Michigan. That was our peak. That was our peak of our fandom for any sport that we've ever experienced. Right now, Grant, you would probably be Michigan, Ohio State currently right now. And I was trying to think of, I was all in the whole hum. I was like, oh, do Michigan fans really care that much? But I was like, you think about it, you put me in their shoes in like that big of a rivalry. This game matters more than anything. Like more than anything.
Hand up. I was getting annoyed by Grant's tweets because he just fired
I was getting annoyed, and I was like,
you know what? If it was Michigan State and they had just done something like this, like I would have been feeling the exact same way. I would just want to tell everybody and just get in everyone's face about it and be like, yeah, we're awesome. I get it.
The Grant should never have to apologize for a win, and that's what we say about you cherish the wins. And in that moment, and in this situation, you're going to your third consecutive Big Ten championship game. You're going to win your third consecutive Big Ten championship. You're going to go to playoff for the third year in a row. I mean, that game matters. For years to come, that game's going to matter. Now, if they're going to get taken away in 3 or 4 years from now, well, but Grant, like you said, you're not going to apologize for the moment that you felt on Saturday. You'll always have that memory.
The biggest X factor in this whole game, which is something big picture wise I wanted to touch on, was to your point, Alex. I agree. Like if you are like I would shut my phone off and be like, nah, I'm not dealing with any of that. The difference with those people though is the build up to this game will probably never happen again. It's just the amount of shitstorm it was, and like all those Ohio State fans and everyone that would like, I can just picture their voices and their like on their little fingers. Oh, Michigan is going to lose by 14 points tomorrow. They're so soft. They're so screwed without Connor Stallions. Like I only went after the people that I just seen on my feed making declarative statements 2 weeks before the game that Michigan was screwed. And it's like, if I did that, if I went on our Twitter account and was like Michigan by 15 tomorrow or whatever, and Ohio State's coach tweeted me, I'm not going to go block them because that's fair. That's good nature.
I'm not saying block.
And I respect
I'm
the
saying
ones.
more so like just turn your social media off and not look and not respond. Like that's more what I mean.
Yeah, my biggest thing is like if you're gonna talk that smack pregame, which is I will never do that in the Ohio State game. Like I will talk crap about their program, but I'm never gonna sit here and like be cocky about beating them because I do have like that respect for how good of an opponent they are. But the biggest thing to this though, like what made this so different is this really is. I've heard some other people say it's almost like it was 3 wins against Ohio State in one moment because. Then if you just sit back and think the world where Ohio State wins that game and the narrative that the 2 wins before didn't really count because Michigan was cheating, like this was about proving that the last 3 years of Michigan football were legitimate. And yeah, they did break rules and they are paying a punishment that they might be worse in the future. But if they lose this game, that's the pressure of this. If they had lost this game, you could just, and I would even believe it. Part of it, I'd be like, wow, maybe Michigan really wasn't that good. Maybe the cheating did help them that much. For them to go out there and prove it and win a tight game and a very important game, it was like validation that, you know what? They are as good as Ohio State. They've now flipped it to where Ohio State's had a whole recruiting class go through that's never beat Michigan. There's only been like 2 players on Michigan's roster now that even know what losing to Ohio State's like. Like it's flipping the mentality between the 2 schools. I really do think it comes down to like thinking back to when Michigan changed. It was Harbaugh getting serious and stop hiring like his buddies and Don Brown and Pep Hamilton as coordinators, like hiring legit NFL level defensive minds and Sharon Moore being a gem and the strength coach Ben Herbert, because Michigan just looks like tougher when you watch them run around. Ohio State was a lot tougher this year. I do respect them for that. Like I think as a whole unit, yes, CJ Stroud's way better than McCord, but as a whole unit, they were more intimidating as a team. But it just flipped it all. And I did think about you guys too. I was like, that moment you guys had when Brantley picked it off against McNamara, that was like my moment when Rod Moore sealed that. I don't remember a ton of games where like the biggest game was sealed on a pick like that. And that had to be a similar feeling where like just pure relief and elation because the other team is driving to potentially win the game. And you make a play on defense to end it. Like that was a great feeling. I was like, that's probably what it felt like inside Spartan Stadium when Brantley picked that off. And Gus Johnson on both calls too.
Gus was a little much for me this Saturday. Just
the biscuit in the basket got a huge pop at the tailgate when he said that line.
But
I did also hate that some of the most. Well, I always am the traditional guy where like the best game of the week should be in prime time. Just for like the build up of that whole day build up. It's like, boom, dude, Saturday morning hits, it's 8 a.m. Dude, it's like, you got to get going. Like your game, the best game that you want to watch is in 4 hours. And when you got stuff to do in the morning,
it does stress me out that it has to be.
It kind of hinders that. I want the stress all day. I want that anxiety built up all day. I want everybody to be talking about it 24/7 all day on Saturday.
It sucks as a fan though because the nerves.
But
so
that's
big.
part of like our fandom, how sick and disgusting we are. We like that feeling though. Deep down, we like that
So
feeling.
dirty.
Also, do you guys think it's kind of absurd that like we're comfortable like divorcing our wives and spouses, but we are unable to divorce a sports team?
Absolutely.
Is that a problem in our
Well,
society?
I threatened it last week. I threatened my sports team last week, and then as
Yeah,
soon
but
as
Evan, we know we're physically not capable of it yet.
Correct, I am
the divorce
unable
rate in
to.
This country is 50%.
and
That's
I
how
would
much
never.
sickos we are. We just nope, can't do it. We have the
Yeah, that feels like very like case by case basis though. It's kind of hard to
I
generalize
don't know,
that.
Grant. Could you like actually divorce the Tigers and pick a new team?
Grant, we drove all the way to Detroit and to watch a team put up 50 total yards of offense when we didn't have to. We physically did not have to. Every single action that we had to, no, but we chose to because a 2% chance we're like, well, Penn State's really not that good.
But that's more like you're there for the camaraderie.
I'm just telling you, Grant, I know for a fact
before the game.
you had the Rich Rod Brady Hoke years. You were big, like numb to it, but like here we are.
I was kind of divorced.
Here we are,
was
though.
on a break from them. It wasn't a full divorce, but it was a break.
Not a divorce.
It was a break. If you count, I watched like 3 games a year.
And here you are. So invested
I would just
that you're
like
like near tears
I was
after
a-
a victory on Saturday.
Well, instead of 3 games a year,
I
we'll
was a-
one
I
up
was
you
a
and say we'll
Tyrann
get
Matthew
season
fan.
tickets. Beat that.
We'll just go.
You guys are a different level for that. I do wish there was one time like I wouldn't have traded Iron Bowl for anything, but like if there was a moment I could like go back in time and be in, I would have liked to have been there for the Zach Zinter injury moment because I listened to Joel Klatt on his podcast and he's just kind of like he's a sentimental guy in general from injuries. Did he have a big injury when he was a college football player?
Wasn't alive, really. Well, I was alive.
don't
but not
know.
really.
He said like big injuries like that when their seniors like get to him, and he said like they didn't they didn't see on the broadcast, but like the big house started chanting like "Let's go Zach" when it was dead quiet, and he said he started crying like in the booth and had to like turn away from the field because it was making him emotional, and then Corum follows it up with a 22-yard run. That, Alex, for me was the moment when Corum ran that in and flashed like the 6.5 after that injury. I was like, oh, Michigan's not losing this game. Granted, it's too early still to say that in the game, but that's when I felt like good. After like bully ball, you just lost the best offensive lineman you have.
I believe I said out loud
top 3
when
player
Michigan got
on your
had
team.
that injury that they were going to win because of it. So,
Well,
just sick. It's
and Will
sick how
Johnson
much we
went out
love
after
our
that
teams.
too. It was crazy.
This is where I'm at. Sickening. Because like I know based on
Yeah.
the fact that you just said you listened to Joel Klatt's podcast this week, like I know you are just digesting as much content as possible about this game and about this team, and it's just probably occupies like 70% of your brain space right now.
I've listened to every like college football podcast.
That's what I
out
mean.
there.
And I've done that
Pretty
before,
much.
and it's just like, wow, we are sickos.
I can't wait for the Big Ten cinematic highlights when those drop. I don't know if they still do them, but they're so good.
Juice.
George Klatt's career did end with a nasty hit.
Thank you, Evan. That was a great pull. I figured that
He was hospitalized for weeks with a severe concussion that ended his career.
Jesus. The sick thing is like with our culture, they're so fleeting now. Like everyone's chasing the next thing, and fan bases are so spoiled these days and think that like every season should be 12 wins or we suck. And I'm like trying to remind myself just to soak it. I've said this probably multiple times on the podcast, but like just soak it in every week. Like, yeah, you're playing Iowa in the Big Ten championship, but treat that like it's the Super Bowl because you don't know when your team's going to be back there. Like you just have to take every single game like it's the most important thing when you're on a run like this. And then when they're bad, like at least for me, I know you guys bought season tickets. Like I would just simply watch a different thing. Like I can kind of do that if they get really bad.
We are
but,
sick though.
Like when it's high, just enjoy.
Unless we are
it.
disgusting.
Just
We
enjoy
don't
it.
even. We still watch them when they're terrible.
I watched every single game start to finish this year. Besides,
There's games on TV, and if I have a chance and there's other games on TV, and I'm watching the Michigan State game or I have a chance to watch the Michigan State game, I pick them over the other good football games.
I believe I texted our gambling degenerates chat and I said I'm such a. I wish I was watching the game you guys were all watching, but I'm watching Michigan State Rutgers.
I was streaming.
where we're
I was
at.
streaming the Indiana Michigan State game on the way on a car ride home from the UP or from Kingsley. I could have just simply just not even cared.
It's just, as Bill Simmons said, you're just born with it. We're just born with the love of sports.
Disgusting.
I will say, not to overreact, but I think that win has pretty much solidified that I'm totally fine with Sharon Moore being the next head coach.
As that would be overreacting.
Like, I think that,
considering this is the team that Jim
the
built,
stripes. I think I'm
Jim's
in.
staff and Jim's everything. But yes,
yeah,
I could talk you out of that. I think in 2 months when this all wears off a little bit.
Now it'd be a late hire, though. It'd be a late hire.
The shine's going to wear off. He could be a great coach.
I mean, I transitioned. The shine of Sharon Moore may
the
wear
shine
off.
of this win will wear off a little bit to the where you'll have more like clarity and like sense talking about him. Like he could also, well, I guess you actually won't see him coach a game again as a head coach unless he is your head coach. But I mean, just saying, like when you put everything together and you have to realize that Jim built this with the help of Sharon, sure, but like it's not Sharon's team; it's Jim's team, and Sharon just filled in and coached it.
The parallels between the two programs, this is kind of my last parting thoughts of like future big picture talk, is in a lot of ways this game felt like the 2016 game, just Michigan was on the other side of it, because Ohio State fans can sit there and think like they really were in it the whole way. They just made one or two bad plays that cost them, and then they also have some controversial calls they're like holding on to. Like obviously they're going to see the Roman Wilson touchdown a different way, whereas Michigan fans see JT as short a different way. Like it kind of was that full circle moment where like how terrible that loss was. Like this is probably what it feels like to be on the other side of it. Well, obviously they didn't go to overtime. But I did like recognize that. And then too, like as I listened to them talk about their fan base with Ryan Day, they just got to be careful. Like I know I like making the third base jokes, and I do think he's an overall like corny dude and kind of like cringy at times. But again, I'm very biased in that. I do think, I mean, you can't deny he's a very good coach, and whatever he was handed to go 57-6 or 56-7, and your only losses are 3 to Michigan, 3 in the playoff, and 1 to Oregon. I mean, almost any team in the country is signing up for that.
I think every team is.
It's like
maybe like 1, 2.
They just have to like remind themselves like Harbaugh was 0-5 versus Ohio State before he got to this point now, and he's still only 3-5 versus Ohio State.
Like, does he get credit for this
all
win?
Time? So I'll give it to him. He was there all week. I guess technically
he was given the softest punishment of all time by the NCAA. So yes,
Alex, that's a good troll bit when people say 3-5. Just like
asterisks.
2-4,
2-5.
Or no, 2-5. 2-5. But like if and Ohio State's getting a new athletic director too, so it is kind of a weird time.
The athletic director is knowing how his first move as being in office is canning the head coach of the football team.
I agree. My question is, he's 1-3 right now. I was thinking about this today, driving home from work because it consumes me, and I was
we're
thinking,
sickos.
Show question I want to ask you guys is like, what record? How many losses would I have to get to where he wins every other game but keeps losing this game? Like Harbaugh was 0-5, and I myself was ready to move on if they wanted to after the COVID year. I was like, whatever.
You did say that.
Just do it if you have to.
Harbaugh would have been
hand up. I was
been
so sick of that.
Correct.
100%. They would have lost by the 100 that Ryan Day said. They were a pitiful program at that point. He's 1-3. What does he have to get to where you're like, oh my God, we might actually have to fire him?
1-6. 3 more.
I think the heat's going to be on next year
3 more.
for sure if he loses again.
Especially back in the horseshoe. Like it's going to get toxic level. It already is.
The silver
part of
lining
the fan
is
base probably hates him.
next year they're going to be able to lose that game and they're going to make the playoff. So there's a chance like they could lose that game and win a national championship.
And Ohio State has so much talent on them. Are they really going to lose to like a lower seed?
And
with a month of
you
preparation?
saw it last year. Ohio State was a field goal away from winning the national championship. So even with losing to Michigan, so
yeah, like he pretty much has proven, even though they didn't, he proven he can win a title there because that's just a kicker missing a field goal and then you win the game.
He literally did everything right besides somebody doing their job.
Yeah,
he can win the title there.
So
you can't fire him, but at the same time, if you keep losing to Michigan, yeah, it's gonna. You're right. That's why this game was so important because they
This is the last
kept
one
saying
that
to
had
people-
that much meaning.
I kept explaining to SEC people like all weekend, like, guys, this is the game as we know it. It's all different after this.
They might start playing.
I will
in
say
week
this,
6
I'm gonna
next
be-
year. Who knows?
I can't have them in the playoff. I cannot have.
Here's a
Ohio
scenario,
State
and
back
I
going to
have
the
it
playoff.
for
That'll
you.
make me sick.
They don't. Grant,
I know.
this scenario's not happening. 0%. Don't have to worry about it.
Evan,
Live to move on.
It could,
No,
though.
it's
There's a-
not going. No,
Alex has it.
Good.
it's not.
The-
Okay, let's
Lay it
hear
out,
all
Alex,
these
'cause I do
18
think-
different variations of this
Just
happening.
four games.
Well, you thought Louisville was going to make the playoff, and they got skunked by Stoops.
Thought Louisville would make the playoff. I was
Thank
just
you for saying
making
that,
sure
Evan.
you
That was
knew
huge.
that they had a chance.
No, I knew
seen
they
the
didn't have a chance.
Can Washington beat Oregon?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay.
they
they
can.
have already proven it.
Can Georgia beat Alabama?
Yes, Georgia's the best team in the country.
Okay, good. Can Texas lose to Oklahoma State?
I
think they could.
I think they could, but I don't see it.
And could Florida State lose to Louisville?
Florida State could lose to Louisville,
Yes,
correct?
they could.
Okay, those 4 games happen. Ohio State's in the playoff.
See, that's what makes me scared. Because that
Yes,
could.
I
happen.
didn't
could
come up
close
with
my
a
eyes and see
scenario that was
happening.
0%. I came up with a scenario that could happen.
It's a.
It would take a lot of crumbling.
In the parlay, it's a plus 6,689 parlay. So you wager $5, you'd win 334. That's not the craziest bet.
It's
of
like a
all time.
long shot parlay. I mean, technically, it's a
But there's part of me that still thinks that they're going to put like Oregon is going to be ranked higher than Ohio State, regardless
Two
of the
losses.
outcome. Just ranked higher, regardless of the outcome of the Pac-12 championship game.
It puts Georgia in.
Can I ask a question?
Part of me thinks that Alabama will still be ranked higher, regardless. Well,
Out 2 losses.
based on the outcome. It all depends on ranked higher, Alex. You're talking about
I know.
13 idiots giving their opinion on football teams.
I don't think 13 idiots are going to put 2 loss teams over 1 loss. A 1-loss Ohio State.
Well, Ward Manuel's
Well, not
part of those
Ohio
idiots,
State.
so
With
he
a
might.
6-point loss to what will be the number 2 team in the country, or maybe 1. I'm more likely to. Yeah, Grant.
Here's a question. I think it's pretty obvious. If Oregon's favored by 9.5 points, if they win that game, which is the most likely situation, 1 loss Washington gets in over Ohio State as the 4 seed, right?
No.
I would say Washington gets in over Ohio State.
I think Washington should.
That would make
Because Washington's only loss would be to a
Ohio
team
State.
that they have already beat,
They
plus
beat.
they were in their conference championship game.
I would think
That
that
would make me
Washington would
sick.
make it.
That would
I
make
can
me sick.
easily see Ohio State making it.
Oh, I could see Ohio State making it too because it's about money. It's not
Money.
about who's the best 4 teams. It's about
They'll have
what's going to generate the most money for everybody.
that Penn State Notre Dame win.
But that sucks. Ohio State versus Georgia would be so bad. Like Washington could actually give Georgia some fits.
Yeah, that's what we thought last
said that
year.
last
And
year.
Ohio
Ohio
State
State
was a field goal from winning the national championship.
They had CJ Stroud though.
Oh, but Ohio State.
CJ Stroud had the best
way they
game of
match
his
up
career
against Georgia.
in that game as well.
A month
Yeah.
preparation with NFL players on your roster.
But not an NFL quarterback.
This year's Washington offense is more like last year's Ohio State offense than anything. It's like similar.
I just
like
think
they have
Washington
a guy
would
back
get
there. They got a lot of
spanked
players.
in the trenches by Georgia, and it would be gross. Ohio State at least has like some guys.
Maybe.
I don't think Georgia would get spanked. I don't think Washington would get as spanked as much as you think.
What is can I ask this? What is Ohio State trying to do? Do we think long term? Because part of me watching the game is like I feel like they're trying to now play like they're Michigan, and I don't think they're ever going to consistently beat Michigan if they just try to imitate what Michigan.
Well,
does.
remember Michigan tried to, not to bring Michigan State into this, but Michigan tried to be like Michigan State and like run and be tough and all that before, and it never worked. And then all of a sudden it broke through, and they were.
Well, they were
like under Harbaugh.
They were power. They were power what they currently are.
Not really under.
Then they went to
Harbaugh,
Shea
but, like,
Patterson.
I
Yeah, hon, Jake Rudock and
I
them,
think
they
that was
were
more
power.
just-
They were fullback, 2 tight
I
ends.
think
power.
that was more just. I think that was more just Harbaugh's
Just
always
try to
been
bully
like
ball,
that.
but you
as
guys
opposed to-
He
tried to
wouldn't.
bully ball, but you weren't good at it.
Harbaugh wouldn't adapt, and then he adapt, but he went too far extreme adapt, where it was all
Speed,
spread, and he didn't have the athletes. And then now he has a pretty good hybrid of, okay, I need an athletic quarterback, a dominant power run game, and then now I can use some athletes to my advantage.
it's really more like the Rudock offense minus the fullback shit, but with a like Jake Rudock on steroids.
Yes, I would agree with that, Grant.
A little bit more creativity though with the tight ends. Like they actually have athletes.
Correct.
You have good tight ends, and you have one receiver that can create a lot of
really good tight ends
space. I think it's overreactionary.
I just don't know what that. I don't. Ohio State's in a limbo though.
I also agree, would not agree that they're in limbo. Like, as dumb as it, as real as that feels in the moment after they lose to Michigan every year, it seems like.
Grant, they have the best track record. I know it doesn't help that they don't have a quarterback. Their wide receiver rooms every single year will have the best talent solely based off of their track record into the NFL.
Like they had dudes.
Like is it 18? Have an 18
best ever one.
Have your 18-year-old senior. How do you not go to like Ohio State and be like, they put him in the NFL. They get him paid. Grant, I get it.
Football's a cycle. They're going to come out of it. They're going.
Correct. Grant, I get it that some of the kids are like, well, they didn't win the national championship, they didn't beat Michigan. Some of the kids don't really give a shit. You're a stepping stone for my future in the NFL.
A lot of kids. I would say some. I would say a lot. Majority.
Yeah.
I feel like their best chance to beat Michigan is to double down on like explosive offense type Ohio State.
If you put CJ Stroud on Ohio State this year,
but I could be wrong. I don't know. That game
could be different.
It would be different.
I would think so.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Marvin's even better than last year.
Well, Alex, it's the same thing like we said every single time. College football, it relates. Is your quarterback better than the other team's quarterback? And if it's not, then you have
pretty much everywhere else. QB is what's going to win you the game.
Correct. They're even everywhere else, basically, and the quarterback decided the game.
And that's Michigan State hasn't had a quarterback since 2015.
Did they transition here? Not a great transition, but did they drop the Jonathan Smith news in the middle of the?
Yes, in the middle of the Michigan Ohio State game,
right before halftime.
That had to be quite the.
I mean, it was kind of dropped the night before, but.
It was kind of dropped the night before, and then Colby got something like, "Oh, it's going to get announced either Sunday or Monday." And no shit, I shit you not. It was literally like 5 to 10 minutes later. Michigan State football was sending out tweets saying, "Here's our new football coach." I was like, "Well, not Sunday or Monday. This is Saturday afternoon."
Michigan State's plan from the jump was show that we can get a coach the day after our last game. So that we don't
after their last game. Hey, shout out to whoever scheduled that game being on Friday night instead of Saturday.
So that we can have our coach
set up everything.
Because we are not doing the Mel Tucker February hire, like try to recruit bullshit, like all that late. Nope. Transfer portal opens December 4th. We need a coach in place, ready to go.
And it helped you had plenty of time. It was smart to get when they got rid of.
Correct. We did have
months.
But to actually pull that off is impressive, and I'm kudos to that. So. To get the guy you want,
what was the state,
and to get him right away, this pretty. And shout out Oregon State for playing on Friday too.
That's what I'm saying.
The stat you had said, Alex, was like how many times a Power 5 coach gets taken right from the head coaching job, wasn't it? What was the number?
That has dramatically increased this year.
Yeah, it doubled.
It's happening this year, but basically, it's like every other. There was from 2019 to now, we'll just not including this year. There's only been, it was Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley and maybe a couple others total. And then there's two seasons where there was 0 in general, none. So it's not it's not common to poach a Power 5 coach. It's starting to become more common, I guess, because people have money to throw around. And it helps when you go from a Pac-12 to a Pac-2.
Well, the big conferences have them more money.
That was a big situation.
Everybody's going to be leaving the ACC to coach because they don't have as much money anymore.
And now what I read
going to the SEC, they're going Big Ten.
The Power 5 is it's 70 teams. And basically now coaches are viewing the Power 5 as the Power 34. And there's 34 teams actually that are now worth that kind of job. It's basically just the Big Ten and the SEC. And so if you're a coach outside of those two conferences, it's how do I get into those two conferences where all the money is, where all the facilities are, where everything is that you need to be successful. So shout out being in the Big Ten or the SEC because you're now a top 35 job in the country, just de facto.
Feels good to be here.
And I'm sure there'll be some Michigan fans that will hate me for it. I don't really care. I'm excited for you guys. I think if I had to grade the hire, I'd probably say it was like an A.
CBS Sports said today A+.
But
Your Cover 3 podcast, Grant, A+.
well, A+ is like you're just trying to get engagement because like what is
Mike
A+?
Elko to Texas
That's a
A&M was
hire.
B+.
But I think that hire of the Stoops Elko debacle at A&M made your guys' hire look much better. It was good PR.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep
to
thinking Mark Stoops was the Texas A&M. I was like, well, they have more money. Woke up, and Mark Stoops was like,
so confused.
F this, I'm staying in Kentucky. And I was like, wait, what happened in 8 hours?
And unbelievable that a fan, like I've used that word multiple times today, but unbelievable a fan base was able to pick their coach. And we're like, you know what? We don't want this guy. We're going to throw a tantrum on social media. And then their AD is
Is that what
soft
happened with
enough.
Texas A&M?
Their AD is soft enough that he pulled that whole deal.
Oh, I
Well,
thought
you
Mark
remember
Stoops just
Tennessee
tweeted and was like, yeah, I'm
Schiano?
staying.
No, I think Texas A&M was
Tennessee
like,
did that to Greg Schiano.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
they
that's
did.
another example.
Holy crap, I
That's
forgot
crazy.
that. Oh my God, I forgot he was even.
SEC is different. I learned that at the Iron Bowl. They just like
Greg Schiano
Now,
was going
Evan,
to Tennessee.
Now that Mike Elko is going to Texas A&M, and Elko is taking absurd heat from Duke fans because he got on a plane in the middle of the night last night and flew to Texas A&M, like leaving the dark night, type of deal where they just try to get away without.
He didn't even say goodbye to his team or anything.
No, just dipped.
Well, he
Well,
did a
let me-
Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley did the same thing. He just FaceTimed his team.
I know,
the next
but he's
morning.
taking some serious heat. But anyways, Evan, big hater of Mike Elko, so you're sure you're okay with that.
I'm not a big hater of him. I just think he looks like Elmer Fudd, and I could not support a guy that I
Now-
just giggle at the entire time he's on the sideline.
It's reported that Michigan State only offered one coach the job, Jonathan Smith, who took it, and that Elko was there too, but they did not offer him a job. So if Elko goes to Texas A&M,
Your message boards.
that's not a message board, Evan. That's
Yes,
a
it
written.
is.
That's a written.
No, I'm just saying. No, I'm not saying that part. The stats that you disputed is fine, but all the other message boards is saying that these are our top candidates and all that bullshit. Absurd. Those people don't know shit.
Evan, our top three was like clear from whenever I started saying it. It was Jonathan Smith, Mike Elko, Lance.
No, there was no top three if you never offered the other three people a position.
They were finalists. They got to the final interview, and only one person got offered the job because that guy took it. I don't know where we would have gone if he said no. My point is,
I would like to dunk on Justin Spiro tonight. That
that guy
suck it.
but he's not even affiliate. He's not even a real media person. I don't even know what he does. He's us, I guess.
He is a podcast, but he gets
Yeah.
people because his podcast is.
Anyways, so we didn't offer Mike Elko.
Good. Thank God.
So if we find out Mike Elko becomes the next, Kirby Smart, we'll have to remember this moment that we chose Jonathan Smith instead. We'll see what happens.
Good. I'll see you in the. I'll see you in the playoff.
forever
in-
now in our minds.
Elko and Smith forever linked.
See you in the
Could've
playoff.
had
in what,
either.
5 years. Alex, I'll be drinking my champagne and bourbon when we're hosting a playoff game at Spartan Stadium in 5 years.
That would be sick.
Evan, you fully in on Jay
He has
Smith
to be.
now?
There's no way he's not.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is exciting. I mean, there's nothing to like. Oh crap! Here we go again. I mean,
It's a
as
big
much as I
difference
said
in
that, like I was nervous about it. I was scared about it. I mean, it would be mean and stupid of me to think of everything that could go wrong instead of being like hopeful and supportive.
I think
I'm
the
also like that.
biggest-
I'm also that fan that's like, oh my gosh, I still can't get over this transfer portal, and just seeing 95% of my roster just disappear in front of my eyes today. It's like, oh, I like those guys.
You knew it was going to happen. This is how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I knew it was going to happen, but not your entire quarterback room was going to leave on the same day.
It is a little surprising, but it's not like Smith isn't going to bring people in.
You got to be prepared from that when Thorne and Keon were crazy
Now,
when that happened.
Like,
that was like
the fans that are already like, oh my God, Jonathan Smith's terrible. Look at all these people transferring. None of these dudes are his players. So just stop.
Oh, those are just overreaction.
And also, my biggest, takeaway, not that you can win a press conference well, you can, but everyone's like,
Dan Campbell
It's
won
like
over
doesn't matter.
everyone.
And
I mean, not
Smith
the
hasn't
national
even
media,
had his
but-
official press conference. But Mel Tucker told the Michigan State fan base that he was just, it wasn't about like building it the right way and like doing stuff like that. He was just like, we're going to win and we're going to win now. And he basically just mortgaged the whole program on the transfer portal, and it worked out for one season. And then now you see the roster when you have 40 scholarship players and you're like, oh, I don't know if that approach really works. And he kind of feels like he just like con artist lied to our face because he wanted to do it so fast and like make us Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State, which we're just not. And at least Smith was very honest and being like, yeah, we have a lot of work to do. And like, he's going to do it the right way, and he's going to develop and like be like a actual football team versus whatever we've been for 3 years. So I at least like feel comfortable in that he's going to do it the right way. The right way though is going to take longer. And for the people that can't handle that, like, I'm sorry, but like, it's not going to happen overnight, and we're not going to be good next year. That's just not how it's going to work.
Yeah, it could be 3 to 4 years you're looking at, like where it's like
I would say we have enough money and
building to a
resources to be better
peak.
faster than that. But
I do think it's going to help that our schedule is relatively
we
easier.
could have
than
a
the time
decent
next year.
record next year based on the schedule. Because as
It
toilet
seems,
as we are, we still beat Indiana, should have beat Rutgers, should have beat Iowa type deal. Like, we can still beat the shitty bottom part of the Big Ten.
And we're getting you have to have better coaching on this coaching staff because it can't get any worse.
And yes, basically we're just
That's right.
playing with as if we were in the backyard with no coaches. That's basically what we were doing.
It seemed good. I know I was getting the information from kind of like biased fan Michigan State sources saying that all these assistants are coming that are regarded as some of the best in the country, when they might be. I don't know, but it seems good. He's retaining a lot of his staff. That feels like a guy that you'd want to go follow and coach for.
I mean,
I know that happens a lot.
I think the
there's been a lot
small
of them. They're like, yeah, I'll move from Oregon State.
circumstance is a little bit different, Grant, because they're going from to
Pac-12,
absolutely
yeah,
their
we're
money's
gonna
going to
do a
get
few-
diminished by how much.
That's a good point.
I think that situations are like, hey, do you want to double your salary too?
I think,
but it is
other
yeah,
staffs
you're right.
as well. Like,
it also is saying something like that, true, but I think it's all small circumstance of Oregon State as a whole university athletic department is a little bit different.
I think when you've gone 18-7 the last 3 years at a notoriously average to below average program, and you've been building the right way, yeah, you can't do that with bad coaches. So I think it's safe to assume that he's got good coaches on his staff. Didn't take all of them, only took 5 out of 10. So that means that either
Oregon State has to promote within.
Well, no, Evan Paul Christ.
No.
You'll see.
Is this a message board or is this actually like insider stuff? Disgusting.
Former offensive coordinator at Oregon State.
The man
Paul
knows
Chryst.
the Midwest.
Offensive coordinator at Oregon State.
QB coach for Jonathan Smith at Oregon State.
Aiden Chili's coming too.
High. He would now be the highest rated quarterback we have. Not because we don't have any players, but he's higher rated than Hauser and Levitt.
He might be.
Alex, can I ask you who Scott Dolson is?
In the
He's
class.
legit. Scott Dolson.
Can I ask you who Scott Dolson is?
Greg Dolson's
Tecumseh,
brother.
football coach, right? Oh,
Why did you see a tweet?
First tweet that I typed in Paul Chris and just hit search. It says, if we hire known anti-NIL Paul Chris, there will be no other choice but to send Scott Dolson to prison.
Scott Dolson's probably their AD.
Oh, that's an Indiana.
Paul
fan.
Chris to Indiana. Maybe the
Paul
yeah.
Chris hot in the market these days. Good for
just
Paul.
move.
Do you guys know where he is
He's
right
got a
now?
great crew deck.
Analyst for
He's-
Texas.
Oh, that's interesting. Him and Sarkisian, I can't think of two more not alike head
There's
coaches.
rumors out there that Paul Chris told Northwestern no.
Because he's waiting for the Oregon
Paul.
State job.
Would you guys like to have your final eulogy parting thoughts for the Mel Tucker era? Because it has to be a relief to finally have that stink out of there.
I mean, just based on what I saw on Friday, that tells you everything I need to know about the Mel Tucker.
Not so much. Mel Tucker. I was over that by week 4 that he was gone. I'm saying the entire coaching staff, especially Jay Johnson, and Ross Ells. I was on Ross Ells the day I met him in person. I was out on him. What year was that? 2021. That was the year we had our best season. Yeah. I was out on Ross Ells, but the satisfaction that Jay Johnson will never call a play for Michigan State football ever again brings me joy on the inside, and I almost cheers and drank to it on Saturday, just because I knew it was over.
Fun fact:
he can't hurt me anymore. He cannot hurt me anymore.
Harlan Barnett, when he was promoted to associate head coach, or I got promoted, I don't know, whatever you want to say. When he got that job, he asked Alan Haller if he could fire coordinators and staff, and was told no. So you guys were calling for their heads early in the season.
That's just a power play, He wants.
Oh, Grant, here's a spicy little detail during the Friday night blunder that it was in Ford Field. So our inside sources, it was up there casually. Nature called, so he had to go use the bathroom during the middle of the third quarter. Not a big deal for him. Not a big deal. As he's walking by, somebody walks in, catches a glimpse of him walking out. He turns and looks to see who it is. In the middle of the third quarter, the football game is going on. Guess who had to pee at the same time as him? It was Jay Johnson. In the middle of the third quarter.
You gotta pee.
It's tough.
What do you want him to do? Wear a diaper?
Hold it until halftime, and then you hold it until the end of the game.
It will be exciting to see where Jay I will be following.
He's never going to coach again.
That's like when we were at Chelsea middle school football. He went and bought popcorn from the concession stand in the middle of our game. Just an all-time move. Let's see. Was there anything else? Oh, I wanted to say this because a lot of people are going to be like, West Coast to Midwest, that's going to be tough for Jonathan Smith to handle. Well, I was listening to Josh Pateso because he was talking a lot about the A&M job. And that's what made me think when I was talking about Sharon Moore, how I'm kind of accepting it. He was running through a lengthy history of people, just how they can get spun. He's like Dabo was nothing before they hired him. He wasn't any big name. He's obviously Ryan Day. He was promoted within.
There's a lot of
talking about all the splash hires. He's basically saying how the splash hire that everyone dreams about isn't real. It doesn't happen. It happens maybe once in 20 years. And he goes, back in the day, people thought Nick Saban couldn't adapt to the Southeast Conference when he went from Michigan State and Toledo to LSU. And goes, well, how did that work out for him? So I would just say the location barrier that people have in their mind, it's all that matters. You know how Jonathan Smith fits in at Michigan State? He just wins football games. That's how you conquer the Midwest. It's not about where are they from? What do they know? What if you just win football games? Then it doesn't really matter. The whole location of the country. So it's a good perspective, I thought.
Matters in terms of a school's culture and how they've historically been able to have success, and all that bullshit matters. I do think it matters.
You mean playing style?
Maybe not exactly playing on field X's and O's type stuff, but a culture, a university is a culture, and how you carry yourself, blah blah blah, and all that. I think that does matter. It matters to the alumni, the people there, the fans. It matters. That does matter. When you throw a coach that doesn't fit any of that into your shit, and then they have one tiny, everyone hates him, and then it goes off the rails. With that being said, I think Jonathan Smith fits Michigan State and how we're designed to be good, and what we need to do to be good.
Yeah.
Based on the resources and everything else, the conference, yada, yada, yada. I think he fits well, so I don't think that's a problem. But I do think you can have a guy that just completely doesn't fit somewhere, and you throw him in and it doesn't work. And I can see that happen because of that.
I think it'd have to be, though, if they're one, an unliked person, and two, they don't win.
I'm telling you, the whole one thing is you have a bad season, they'll run you out of town type of deal. Brian Kelly's getting ran out of town already.
He's not going to get ran out of town. That'd
Agreed.
Be crazy.
It's crazy, but that's the whole fit thing.
They won the SEC West in his first year there.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
But
That's my
that
point.
part is just crazy. I think the biggest fit is just win football games. That's all that matters. If you just win football
Rich
games,
Rodriguez
any alumni that
came to
doesn't like the way you
Michigan,
talk
did
or
not
how you
fit.
carry yourself.
See what happens.
But he also wasn't winning. And it was
Because of
he was
how he
building.
does it, it didn't fit. Doesn't fit in the Big Ten. It doesn't fit for Michigan.
But if he had won 10 games in one of those years, they'll keep you around.
I'm just saying that some of that stuff does matter. It's not like you can just pluck whoever wins football games and think it's going to work for you. That's not how it works.
Yeah. In A&M's case, yeah, if you're pissing off a big donor, yes, that's a problem. But like Rich Rod, his best season was 7-6, and they should have given him more years than just 3. So he was a prickly guy, probably rubbing people the wrong way.
He got his
But-
10-win season. Brady Hoke was just the coach.
Yeah. I think it's more like if you're a likable guy, you can kind of like if you make friends with the right people in a town like that with the boosters, like you can survive a couple more years. But if you're kind of a guy people don't like, you really have to win football games fast.
I'm just saying at a
to-
program that's not
do
built
what you
by
want.
5 stars and buying players and, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, those type of schools, the fit is more important because you have to do things differently to win versus what the exact example of this is Mel Tucker coming in who did not fit and thinking that he could get a bunch of 5 stars when he got 0 and then he was going to get 1,000,000 4 stars and he got like 12 and then tried to make all that talent work, but then you can't coach football games and then you don't have the 5-star talent to hide all your lack of ability to coach, and then everything blows up. And then you jerk
But
off at the
also
desk.
we're like one huge off the field detail.
Yeah, but Grant, the team wasn't good, regardless of that.
But
Well, they
don't
went
know
5-7 the year before.
Yeah, but there's a real world where they go 6-6 or 7, and you're running that back with him because he didn't.
So
do that
yeah,
thing on the phone
going
call.
2-6, 11-2, 5-7, and 6-6 is like, oh yeah, we love him. I don't think so.
No, but I think he gets one more year. I think it was just, we said the moment it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
that
it was. But my
happened.
whole point is like
The phone call
trying
happened,
to
'cause then you can
force your ways upon a program that can't do that historically doesn't work.
Yeah, but you can trick a lot
You
of
can
people
dupe all
along
of
the
us
way.
because we're like,
Which we
oh,
all
maybe
felt
he
it.
can do that. Maybe he will get us 5 stars. Wrong.
Speaking of feeling duped, quickly, like 5-7 minutes, we're already long one tonight, but the Lions duped us on Thanksgiving. Just one of those games, the minute the first play happened with the 60-yard bomb to Christian Watson, you're just like, oh no. Like I was like, oh God, like we don't need to start the game off like that. So many things went bad. I was watching it with Packers fans. It wasn't great. Thankfully it was Thanksgiving, so there was good food coming. The question I think we should start with from Ben V, which
Evan's
really
roommate.
summarizes the doomsday of people,
You
is
just have him come downstairs and be on it.
how did he phrase it? What is your confidence level 1 to 10 of the Lions winning the North at this
At
moment?
this moment, I'll go first. I would love to go first, actually.
Dun, dun.
At this moment, currently the Monday Night Football game
was
is
just gonna
on
say, what's the score?
over right there. It is 6-3 Bears. I have an 8.5 out of 10 chance that we're going to win the North. No question about it.
Wow, 6-3.
I'm
That's crazy.
2 game lead,
Has Hawk caught a
5
pass? Could
games
I win?
left.
Oh, yeah.
2 of
Hawk
them
has
against
caught a pass.
Minnesota.
But Josh Dobbs looks bad. I think the Packers are playing better football right now than the Vikings. I think the Vikings just got
I think
lucky
the
that
magic number
they were playing bad
is
teams.
5.
Yeah, I'll go 9 out of 10. I'm just you didn't just magically become 8-3 because you were dog shit and like pulling out miraculous wins. Like, yeah, we've had a rough 2 weeks that ended in a result of 1-1 on paper.
They're home.
So 9 out of 10.
I'll go 9 as well.
Good.
The defense obviously is becoming
The defense is
problem.
bad. Not gonna try to pretend they're good. They're not. Anzalone's now hurt.
And we got a clunkered I'm kind of excited to see that though. I know like he is really good, but I'm excited to see Campbell and Barnes and see if there's any like 1 or 2 week magic they can pull out there of just flying around.
Trying to find a question.
It gets really dark if they lose to the Saints. I think not really dark, but it gets what's going on, because that's 2. It's really 3 games in a row where it's down to the wire. A loss on Thanksgiving. What are you laughing
Off the
at,
record,
Alex?
the funniest text I received on Thanksgiving is off the record. Jerry Jacobs cannot cover. That is a text I've received. Oh, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Back on the record. Jared Goff has struggled the last 2 games, notably. Fumbles, picks, pressure in his face, not really able to escape. Dead serious right now. This is in quotes. This is not from me. This is from someone else. Who would you rather have, Jared Goff or Sam Howell?
Jared Goff. I haven't also watched
Jared
a ton of
Goff.
Sam Howell, I'll be honest. So
He's proven. Just because you have 2 bad games doesn't mean you throw him out.
yeah, I mean Sam Howell scored 10 points on Thanksgiving. I know he's playing the Cowboys defense, but they scored 19
I'm in
against
the
the
Jared
Giants.
Goff camp.
Yeah, no, it's Jared Goff.
But just wanted to see where you guys are at. Temperature check.
I just don't get our offensive line, man. It just sucks. Like, I keep thinking, like, when I see Jonah Jackson out, I'm like, all right. Like, I'm like, Jonah's good, and he's very slept on. But it's just one guy. Everyone else is healthy. Glasgow's good. I know we're starting Sorsdahl. Then you go up there and you just let Rashawn Gary have 3 sacks. And, like, Jared Goff is just getting pressured every single play. And it's like, this just sucks. Like, I don't know what it was with the offensive line. Probably has to be their worst game of the season so far. I do think we do overestimate or we underestimate the factor of like pride in the NFL, where like the Lions embarrass the Packers,
grown men,
and like Connor came on this podcast and basically was like Jay Johnson, Ross L's level of mad at their coaching staff, and LaFleur got made fun of for like a week. Like, you don't think their coach like remembers that, and they get themselves up for that on Thanksgiving in Detroit to spoil their Thanksgiving, like, and they're still in the hunt because the NFC is so terrible. I think it was just like, I mean, I'm guilty of it. I woke up at like 3 a.m. when we had to travel. It was like a bad day to be a Packers fan, Marissa. I was cocky. I was overlooking the Packers big time. I didn't realize how much better Jordan Love looked. He looked really good. So I think they just are peaking at this moment right now. They're a formidable football team, but it's also on us to not look as bad. Like, we just did look pretty bad. But at the same time, you don't give a fumble 6 and it's a tie game. So I don't know. It did suck. I didn't realize that we've lost 7 Thanksgiving games in a row. That's absurd.
I always felt like we were competing in those games, and then I saw that stat and I went, wow, it's really been that long.
I know Patricia was terrible, but I didn't realize we lost 7 in a row.
Yeah.
The fake punt call was one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. Yeah, I'm glad Dan admitted it, because that was so stupid, and it was the most obvious thing ever. It actually was a thing where I jokingly was like, oh, I bet they fake it, like as a joke. There's no way, it's so obvious, 4th and 5, and they actually did. And he was moving in quicksand when he caught the football. So if you're going to fake it, just keep the offense on the field or give it to someone else that can move. I don't know. I'm not having fun. I didn't have fun. I had a really bad time watching the football game. It didn't ruin my Thanksgiving, but I was sad. I have to go see how it ruined my Thanksgiving.
Would you guys say that this game proves that we're frauds?
Yeah, I guess it's a good question. I'm not answering. Yeah, I'm saying another good question is like, we were thinking, how does it anticipate? Because right now in the line season, we're in this weird spot. We're in this spot where if you took a time machine to the beginning of the year, we're like, all we're trying to do is win our division for the first time since 1991, and
which that was our goals.
That would be awesome.
We came on this podcast and said that. Now, I reminded a group chat today. I was like, that is what we all wanted, and now somehow we're sitting here convincing ourselves it's Super Bowl or bust, and then if we don't win this year, we're never going to win again. It's just crazy how we got to that point, but that just shows our sicko brains in sports and everything else. But
I mean, some of the added pressure we've put on ourselves is fair because we started winning games and looking really good. And then you're looking around thinking, there's no reason we can't win our conference. Now that I've seen the Eagles keep winning games, I'm a little bit more down on that. I do think there's like a touchdown gap between us and them, at least if it's at Lincoln Financial and crappy weather. It's probably an 11-point gap. But, I mean, Dallas is really good. 49ers are good, but I think if we play our best game, you can beat them, especially if it's at Ford Field. So was like, all right, now it's like NFC Conference Championship. I want to play for the Super Bowl or bust. And now I'm a little bit back down on that because I do think
we have flaws that we ignored we're not getting for multiple weeks because we're still winning games. And I know we didn't lose to the Bears, but like we saw what happened in that game, and we saw what happened this week. We saw what happened against the Ravens. There's a common theme. This team is still not. It is not built to win a Super Bowl yet. Now you could argue, well, why didn't Brad? I've seen a lot of tweets. Brad's got to go do something. Why didn't he mortgage the future for a defensive lineman? Blah, blah, blah. Fair questions. You ask whatever you want. But like, I would just go back to like, is that the one piece we are away from actually winning a Super Bowl, or is there still a lot more to be done? And I would argue there's still more things that need to be done.
Yeah. Yes and no. I don't know. If they play their A game, they can beat a lot of teams.
Like humans in general, in anything, like it's impossible to be perfect and play a perfect game or A+ game all the time. Like teams that are built to win Super Bowls can like and win because they're so good everywhere else on the field. Or you have that one quarterback.
We're not
Patrick Mahomes that can just strictly keep you in a game by himself for a while if you need him to.
We're not really built to make mistakes.
Which is not built part of our to win. Like that's not a team that's just going to win. That's a team that's still learning and still getting better.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's like a loser attitude. I get that. Like admitting to yourself that you're probably not there yet. But like you have to be honest with yourself. And one defensive lineman wasn't just going to make this team like all of a sudden great. Like Dan was still going to have some fourth down punt run, whatever that was. Like we're still like a team that is learning and has no playoff experience whatsoever, and like is still making mistakes as we go. Like that's just going to happen.
If we get blown out in any of like the remaining games, that I would start thinking like fraud or like we're going to disappoint ourselves. But because I mean, I have someone who watched every single game of the Vikings they would get blown out in games, like blown out. And you can't, I actually want to walk that back. They were not frauds. They were a good competitive football team.
They were the same.
They needed a lot of games, but their losses were bad. And like, it's not if the Packers had won like 31-10 in Ford Field, that'd be a different story. Like this team still has grit, as cheesy as it is, where like they don't fold. They still got it down to 7 with an onside kick. I know it's like you're going to lose, but they're not like getting blown out. They got blown out by the Ravens. So if they get blown out by like the Cowboys in Jerry World, if they lose by like 24 points in that game, I'll be like, there's a chance it could. And then I know. I don't know like what's going to happen in the playoffs. Because there's a real chance then you're playing the Cowboys or the Seahawks at home, the way it would work out, so you're going to have to face one of those teams back and Ford Field.
I would say we're not frauds, but I would say that you described it best. We have to play like almost a perfect game to beat a good team or to beat a team that's playing at a high level, which just tells me that this is year 1 of the playoffs and expecting to be good. This is not year 6.
There was a moment a few weeks ago where I was like, I don't care. I wasn't caring about matchups. I was like, send any team in the NFC to Ford Field and I think we can win. And now it's like very matchup based in the playoffs.
We drank the Kool-Aid, we got excited, and we chose to ignore the clear, obvious flaws. We lack team speed on defense. We don't have a good secondary, and we don't get any pressure on the quarterback. That's it.
But I do think when
you get sacked too much,
it's my like always optimism. In last last night was devastating for the NFL for the Lions. Like I'm still 25% chance. I think one seed's still on the table. I know people will call me crazy. Last night when the Bills lost, that was devastating because I still think it's like it's such a win on the margins league. Like if the Eagles had fell, they're 9-2, you're 8-3. Their schedule still is a gauntlet. If you somehow had fallen into a 1 seed, you just have to win a single home game and then you're in the NFC Championship game. Like, and maybe you're not the best team in the NFC, but if you get that right to be the 1 seed, you're right there, and then you fall into a game, and then you're in the Super Bowl. But it's a lot more of a long shot now because the Eagles just cannot lose a football game, and it's infuriating.
Yesterday just about sealed the fact that I don't care if the Eagles are 40-point underdogs or losing by 21 points with 3 minutes left. Like I just think they're going to win. They just prove it every single week. They just win every game. It's disgusting how they do it. It's like we keep saying, how does Washington get away with it every week? Philly is doing that. They're just getting away with it every week and just finding ways to win. But they're a championship football team with experience who just went to a Super Bowl. They're on a different level, and that's just where it's at. We don't deserve the 1 seed, if we're being honest with ourselves. They're a better team.
Yeah. But maybe we catch a couple of breaks and we fall into it.
I don't think falling into it gets us into a Super Bowl.
Well, the beautiful thing is next week, either one of the Niners or Eagles has to lose.
I love that you are still
for us.
considering
They
it
have to
hopeful,
lose.
but like I just don't.
We're
going to be
Eagles
honest
have
with
to
ourselves.
play
We're going to split
still,
with
not
Minnesota.
to just belabor it.
It's a division. Play same team twice
No.
in 4 weeks.
I don't know.
No. Alex, it is
Watching
6-3 right now. We're not losing to them.
I haven't. I know that, but there's something about playing teams in your division where those games are always close. That's why the Commanders almost beat the Eagles every time.
Well, the Eagles have to play
That's
the Giants
not a
twice
football
still.
team.
They could slip up one of those, though.
That's not
Divisional opponent, though. The Eagles still have Niners, Cowboys,
Seahawks are not.
Next 3 games
They're
in a
dead.
row. At Seattle is
I
not easy.
said it last week to you that I hated Evan's roommate's bet about Seattle. Like they're not a good football team. They're not.
I watched that whole Seattle game. They could have came back.
They're
They
just not.
Shot
I'm
themselves
sorry.
in the foot. They have to play the Cowboys this week. It'd be nice for. I'm just looking at the stands. I still think we can find our way to higher.
We're going to win the division. That is never happened in our life. We can't just like all of a sudden not be happy with that. That's just totally unfair to this franchise
I know.
and what they've been through. Totally unfair to ourselves. We should enjoy that, and we should be happy about that. We should enjoy all the wins, as Evan says. Enjoy them all.
I think really where I'm at right now is I just want to avoid Dallas as the wild card matchup.
Yeah, there's so much
That's
time.
what I want.
It's going to work itself out.
I don't want to play them in the wild card.
We don't need scenarios.
Well, we know
right now.
Dallas is going to be
They're
the
gonna
wild
be
card opponent.
Best wild card opponent. There's 2.
Well,
And we're still in a
Most
good
likely.
spot to be the 3 seed. Or 2 seed, I mean.
if no listener Sam is listening, which I think he will, I'll just respond to him. I'll tell him that we'll answer his question next week because it's a good question, but it's too long for this length of show. So, Sam, that's a little tease for you, buddy. Cheers to episode 143. I hope my Buckeye friends are doing okay.